And we're live. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Dude. Today, the topic will be movies and TV shows, and I'm Uber.
And I'm Dulki.
Okay, let's start with, as always, the news. So, what have you been up to the past week?
Just recovering from the Rona. Um, I'm not even sure if I did have the Rona or not, but the symptoms were COVID-esque, so I gather it was that. So I got some treatment, and I feel great, except just a mild cough every now and then, and just a bit of just general being tired, I would say. But that's because also I just stayed in the house for like a week and a half, so I'm guessing that's part of it. And I just arrived actually this morning from my hometown, 10 hour uh,
Train, right?
train ride, yeah, and I couldn't sleep, yeah, so that's out of the question. But I couldn't sleep because, to my surprise, the train actually went very fast. It actually got earlier than it was supposed to,
Okay.
which was a surprise. And when I could finally get some rest, I had like a beautiful dream, which seemed like half an hour, but it was only like 5 minutes, and it ended with, "Hey, dude, wake up! We arrived in Bucharest, and the train's gonna leave in like 5 minutes." I'm like, "God!" So I had to hurry up. And wouldn't you know it, my luggage, the zipper, it got ruined, so I couldn't carry it normally because it's made like it's like a two-part luggage. So basically, I had to carry it, and it was very weird because in the train station, obviously, there are a lot of refugees and assistance centers, that sort of thing. And yeah, people were looking at me like I was a Ukrainian refugee or something. So.
And yeah, so what did you do this past week? I thought you tried to spend a bit more time with your family before leaving, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We spend a bit more time. I got to meet up with some friends of the family as well. We had a huge laugh. It was really funny because my godson is, in Romania we're big
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on that sort of thing. So my godson was on a like a trip to Baile Herculane, which is like a kind of like a resort thing, but very old, back from the Roman days, where they have like hot springs, that sort of thing. It's really nice, but it hasn't been modernized or anything, so it's kind of shit. But the hot springs are still there, functional after a few thousand years actually. So they went there, and I was talking to a friend of the family, and we were about the same age, and we were thinking, oh man, he's having the time of his life. And we were just thinking, man, if we were young again and at that age, how would we approach it and everything, considering girls, because he's like 16. So obviously the hormones
Mm-hmm.
are
Yeah.
acting up.
Has he started slapping girls already, or?
No, he's a bit he's more shy, but he plays the guitar, and he started going to the gym. Previously, he used to be kind of chunky boy,
Mm-hmm.
and he started going to the gym. He started growing like a slick beard, something like that. So he's starting to get noticed by the girls, but he's too young and he has no game yet. And we were talking like, man, if I were that age, like the first thing I would do, I would go to like the 11th and 12th graders from high school, and I would just full on straight up tell them, look, I'm a virgin, but I'm eager to learn. And given the experience that I have now, obviously I know that they would be like, oh my God, I will teach you, I will be your first, and wear it like a badge of honor. Because girls back then were, well, not only back then, but still today, they're really into teaching young guys and that sort of thing. And he's going to remember me for the rest of his life and compare all the other girls with me and that sort of thing. So,
Like you wouldn't feel that way if a younger girl were to give you her virginity. Or
Yeah,
is that too much pressure for you? You're not
yeah,
man
yeah,
enough.
I don't want that pressure, to be honest. No. Because with ladies it's a bit different because they not only do remember you, but they still, where do you see this going? Like, fuck, nowhere, man. What are you talking about?
Ah, come on, not everyone's like that.
No, no, obviously, no. I'm just kidding. But no, to be honest, I wouldn't want the pressure. I did have a virgin once, and I was also a virgin, obviously. Well, not obviously, but it happened then, and it was not pleasant because none of us knew what the hell we were doing, and it was very awkward. And afterwards, I my second was with an older lady who taught me a lot, so I remember her. But yeah, since then I've never had a virgin ever, and don't really want to be honest. How about you?
Oh, a lot has happened actually. I went out with a friend on Thursday. He's one of the guys I play Dungeons and Dragons with, and oh, he's a friend of Nicolas. Remember the Belgian guy from
Yeah,
Ubisoft?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so we all play Dungeons and Dragons together, and he actually lives in. So that guy moved to Paris, I think, a month or two before I arrived, and we hung out once. When I first arrived, we went for a hike with a group of people, and then we never took the time ever again to hang out. And so we decided last week to do something, and he took me to a bar that actually made me glad to go out for once in Paris. And it's like an underground bar called La Frange. It's like a hidden place. If you don't know that the bar is there, chances are you will not stumble upon it. And unfortunately, they closed yesterday. It was their last day. They're not closing down permanently. They're just going to reopen, I think, in a bigger place in September or so. And I'm really looking forward to hanging out there again because the people were really nice. I actually took some time and asked the people some questions about movies and TV shows, and I'll talk about their answers a bit later.
Okay.
And yeah, it was very nice. Everybody was cool. You could just so they're more on the geeky side. Some were like metalheads and stuff like that. So more the kind of people I'm used to in bars and pubs, and people where I can easily go and talk. Like I know I have stuff to talk about with them, and I don't have to go into a conversation that I wouldn't be interested in.
It's interesting because you said that last time, but from my point of view, I thought that for you at least, Paris would be like very easy to get along with the people there. Obviously, since you lived there before and everything, I didn't know that it took a while until you got more comfortable with it.
It's maybe because I know Paris and I have a I grew up with a certain dislike for it,
Oh,
and yeah, and I'm to be fair, I'm prejudiced towards the city. It is not that bad. It's not as bad as I make it out to be. It's just that I came with some prejudices, and I can be fucked to change them now.
towards Parisians, you would say?
No, toward yeah, well, towards Parisians mostly. The city hasn't done anything wrong to me. It's the people
Yeah,
who do things.
yeah. I think this is a common thing in any country where you have a like big metropolis. The people are usually not particularly liked by the rest of the country. Even in Romania, for example, people really don't like people who live in Bucharest.
Yeah, I can see that because well, people in Bucharest are special, but I wouldn't say that they're worse than people outside of Bucharest. They're different. In Paris, it's well, yeah. Now that I think about it, there is a level of snobbery that
Mm.
is quite intense for yeah, in capital like in capital cities. It's not everyone, but those who have that are really insufferable and make it so that it's the only thing you remember
Yeah,
from your
I know
stay.
exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean because I lived out in the west. I lived in the center of the country in Transylvania, and then I moved to Bucharest. So I kind of have a perspective of most regions before I got here. And the general consensus about people living in Bucharest was that they were very rude and they didn't have time to give you and very snobbish, as you well put it. But the fact of the matter is, from my point of view, after living here for about 10 years, I would say it's just because the city is very packed. It has officially it has like 2.5 million people, but unofficially, I would say more to the likes of 4.5 million people. It's very dense. It's very condensed. So you have a lot of traffic. You have a lot of traffic jams. It takes a lot for you to get somewhere or to get to work, and that kind of builds up frustration. And what tends to happen is that you don't really have time for pleasantries. So if you're on the subway, for example, and you see an elderly couple or someone out of town ask you for directions, and it's I don't know, 8:45, you don't have time to talk to them and say sorry, I'm running late or something like that, and you just move along, and they perceive it as you being obnoxious, where in fact time is very important in these very packed cities. And it is possible, I'm not sure because I never lived in Paris, but I'm guessing it may happen there as well. And obviously, it happens in New York, for example, where you have the New York Minute. That's
Well, the thing is that I haven't stayed long in New York. I was there for a week or so. People were actually very nice and friendly, and I don't know if it was because I was giving that tourist vibe, but one who is, I guess, not rude. I was being very polite, and people were very nice to me. I don't recall any bad experiences in New York. I remember something that actually quite um, took me by surprise. I was in the not to buy, but just to visit it. There is a big Hugo Boss store in New York, a very big one. Like I think it must be their main store in New York.
Mhm.
And I walked out of there, or I might have gotten something there. I think because I was holding a bag, and someone was walking fast. They didn't see me, and they stepped on my foot while I was walking out of the store. And I think that not everybody goes in that store, so that person started apologizing profusely, as in, oh, I just stepped on someone foot who might have a lot of money and make trouble for me, not as in, oh, I'm sorry, human to human. it,
Oh,
it, it felt really odd. Like it wasn't like a regular apology, it felt like overdone.
interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's the only like remarkable thing that happened in New York. The rest was very nice. I enjoyed my time there. I could never live in that city, that's for sure,
Ah,
but to visit it was really nice. I especially like I booked a rowboat in Central Park, and I went there with two friends, and we hung out on the water, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
why couldn't you see yourself living there? Curious.
There is that New York minute still. Like
Oh,
the level of stress that was ambient
you could feel it in the air.
was too much for me. Yeah, it didn't impact me during my stay there. That's why I said that I didn't really have any bad experiences. But I could tell, hey, people don't have time here.
Mhm.
But compared to Paris, people were more likely to answer me, like telling me where stuff were and stuff like. I was never lost, and that was in 2006. We didn't have like GPS on phones and stuff, so I had to ask and walk around.
Mhm.
Maybe that's also why people took more time, because, well, how else are you going to get to a place? I guess people assume now that you could just check your phone for that.
Well, yeah, but if in your experience, would the Parisian vibe has it changed, for example, from the last time you lived there compared to now, or is it kind of the same?
It's hard to say because last time I actually lived in Paris was like in 2014, And when I came back this time, I arrived dead middle of the second or third confinement. You know,
Oh, I see.
so everything has changed. Like the dynamic is different, and so I didn't really go out that much because everything was closed. I was hanging out more with my housemates, and we were doing parties between houses. So that was fine by me because I knew the people. I could easily talk with everyone because we all had at least one thing in common. We were living in the same kind of houses all around Paris. So yeah, but the few times I went out, I just stayed with my housemates. I wouldn't just start up conversation with random people, which I did when I went to La Frange this Thursday. It was the first time I've done that in a very very long time.
But could you usually do it with people in Paris, or would they view it as kind of weird?
Uh, I don't think I've ever tried because I felt like they would think it is weird.
I see.
I might be completely wrong and misreading that, and I most likely am, but that is what I was reading from people. Like they wouldn't give me the time of day, and I didn't want to bother them. Like I could get the lifestyle here, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to start talking with them when they just want to relax with their friends. I think where I did that the most was in Dublin when I was living in Ireland.
Oh yeah, you told
There, I would talk
very
with
friendly.
people all the time. I don't think there was a single evening where I didn't end up meeting new people
Hmm.
when going out. For a year or year and a half, that was my bread and butter. Just talking to random people all the time.
Do you think it also has something to do with our age? In the sense that when, for example, for me, when I was in my 20s, it was just so easy to strike up a conversation with random people my age, obviously, and everyone was eager to talk and to do
No,
something.
no, because I've been coming to Paris ever since I was, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years old on a regular basis, and then at least twice a year, starting when I was 12. So I've seen the city like for over 25 years, and I never felt like I could just go and talk with people.
Interesting.
Yeah. And in Dublin, they have a pub culture that is not the same as here. They don't drink the same way, they don't enjoy their evenings the same way, and it just felt more friendly. People are open. If you sit alone, chances are people are going to come and talk to you. Like you don't even have to go to them, but if you go to them, they won't be shocked that you do that, and you can just tell them, "Hey, I'm not from around here," or "Hey, I'm from outside the country." Obviously, you can see it on my face, and they just start asking questions, and people are, yeah, they were friendlier. I liked Scotland as well. While I was visiting Scotland, it was the same. Like they are, I think. The competition is between Scottish people and Canadians. I don't know which ones are friendlier. It's crazy how good natured and friendly they are, and I really enjoyed my time both in Canada and Scotland.
That's very interesting. Maybe it's a cultural thing, because the Irish are well known for their hospitality and their friendship and striking up a conversation, especially if you're drinking a Guinness or whatever. And Scottish people are usually, from what I've heard, very direct and don't shy away from talking to you and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they're direct, not in like, you can
Not
say
in a
that
rude
French
way.
people are direct, but you there is a rudeness to it.
Mhm, mhm.
Where Scottish people, I never felt that. Like, and they were so helpful. I had an issue when I was there. There was some. It was at a time where I think the Bank of Scotland was having some computer issues or stuff like that, so they could not process a lot of foreign cards. But there is a system in the UK and Ireland called cashback, where you can buy something for like £5 and say, I would like 15 pounds in cashback, and they would give you that amount on top, like if you were withdrawing money. And so I was at a restaurant with my ex at the time, and so when we went to pay, my card was declined, like I could not pay. and but I knew that my card was working in stores. I was not able to withdraw money, but I knew that I could pay in stores. So that's why I thought it would work in the restaurant as well. And I asked them, hey, do you know if there's a store not far from here? It was getting late, and it was we were in a city far from everything. We're in Portree, like it's on the Isle of Skye, in the Highlands. Um, and they told me, oh, there is a shopping center, but it's a bit outside of the city. So they called a cab for me. And while in the cab, I started talking with the guy and telling him what was going on. And so we arrived to this at the store. It was like a Cora or something like the equivalent to Tesco. And the guy comes out with me, and he tries to find someone about to pay for the groceries. Like, he explains the situation for, like, I don't even have to speak. The guy was there, like, helping me out. And we easily found a family that was going for their weekly shopping, so I could pay for them, and they would give me the cash, and that went well. So went back to the restaurant. The cab refused to take my money. He didn't want me to pay for the for the ride, and I was like, no, that you were already more than helpful. I cannot just go without paying. This is not okay. Now I have money. Like, it's fine. And the restaurant, by the time I got back there, my ex didn't really speak English, so they were not able to explain to her that they were actually going to let us leave without paying. Like, they understood the situation, it was not a big deal, so they were ready to just let us go like that. And I said, no, no, it's fine, I have the money now. Like, everybody was so kind and genuinely helpful. It was that's why I'm saying, like, the experience in Scotland was just amazing.
That's really nice.
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind going there to work. Actually, considering now at the moment, apparently there are a lot of jobs in Luxembourg for what I do, so I'm going to start applying from tomorrow. Apparently, they're looking a lot for people with my experience, so I'm kind of curious to try that foreign lifestyle. Let's say that how people live out there in the West. And honestly, from what I've noticed regarding what you said with like how easy you can strike a conversation with someone. From my experience, because I've traveled a bit, not as much as you, obviously, but from what I've noticed, in countries where people don't speak English that well, if you make an effort to speak their natural tongue, their mother tongue, they're very helpful and they're very friendly with you. But in some countries where most people, especially if they're elderly, for example, don't speak English, they would like to come up and talk to you, but or if you would talk to them, they would continue. But since there's that language barrier, it kind of makes them shy. And for example, I noticed that in Romania, especially.
Yeah, I could see that because, like, you feel like sharing with someone who comes from a different culture, and maybe you were not exposed to it. One of the reason you don't speak another language than your own, for instance, and you want to know more about it, but yeah, that language barrier is can be quite a hassle. I have friends who manage, like, without speaking English or the local language, to communicate for days with people. I don't know how they did it. Like, they were signing and
Yeah, yeah,
pointing at things, and
yeah.
they were living their best lives. Like, it's some of the happiest memories they have, where they could not properly communicate with people, but everybody was making an effort, and everybody was just happy to be there.
Know exactly what you mean. My parents do that, for example, whenever they go abroad,
Yeah.
especially in more in the east, when they go in Turkey, because they don't speak English at all. They only speak Romanian, so they always try to point at things, and they end up, making friends there, and they don't speak a word of English. So I find that fascinating.
And something that I really appreciated when I was in Romania. So parents, I met the parents of Loredana and Adriana, and neither of them spoke any English,
Hmm.
and they would speak Romanian at me, not to me. Like, they would speak at me, and because I was in time learning more and more words, I would answer sometimes, and this would bring so much joy to them that I understood what they were saying and stuff like that, and it was always a very nice moment. And we were talking about Favorit last time, the TV channel.
Yeah.
I think it was on Christmas. We went to Loredana's parents to eat there. And then they went. They didn't want me. Like I helped clear out the dishes from the table, and the mother didn't want me to do anything, and I was very uncomfortable with
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, the big
So I just sat with her father in the living room, and he was changing the channel, and then he asked me what I wanted to watch, and I said favorite because it was the only channel. Like I didn't want to watch DG24 or something. I was like, okay, let's at least put music that I feel the guy could relate to. And so we put and he was like, oh, I forgot how he said it. But anyways, oh, you know that channel, and he was very happy to put it. He took out the Tsuika bottle, and we started drinking. Like he made me drink. I I didn't ask for that drink. And then the girls came back in the living room, and seeing the two guys with the Tsuika and just listening to my ex hated that channel. Like she could not stand it. And the mother was laughing because she's like, what the fuck are you doing with that poor kid? Think not knowing that I was the one who requested it. And Lorena was like, I'm pretty sure he's the one who asked for that channel.
That's funny. Yeah, I noticed my parents worked, the ones that I visited in my hometown. They worked a few years in Germany, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but at least Eastern Europeans, but most of the world are very have a certain prejudice towards Germans. They consider Nordic people usually very cold, and they don't really talk to foreigners and that sort of thing.
Latin people tend to have that prejudice towards northern people.
Yeah, but when I went there, I was very surprised that they were very welcoming, and the only thing that's why I brought it up before. The only problem was the language barrier because they didn't speak English and I didn't
Mm.
speak German, just a few words. But even when I tried speaking just a few words, they would immediately, try to strike up a conversation, point at things, and they were very happy to for me to make that effort. So yeah, I think usually it's just a language barrier.
Mm.
However, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing with Parisians there is something different because of their very extensive history, where maybe they feel a bit more elitist, maybe.
They're not humble enough. But that's
Yeah.
only in. I've noticed that's mainly in Paris. I've lived in other places in France, and people were not like that at all. Like I didn't have that feeling in other places. I lived in Lille for a while, and there I could start talking with people, like in bars and stuff like that, with no problem. I did that in Nantes as well, and yeah, so that was really it's really something in Paris that blocks me.
I noticed the same thing in London, for example. Londoners have a very low opinion of all the other cities, for example, in the UK, and they're quite. They're very proud of being from there. And yeah, when you do talk to them, they have this. You can feel this way of the way they talk to you, in the sense that they feel a bit superior in relation to foreigners, but also to other Englishmen there.
Hmm. Okay. And yeah, another thing I tried on Saturday is EMS. It's electro something stimulation. So it's it's a gym session. They put a suit on you that is plugged in with electricity everywhere, and you have to exercise while you're being shocked. And it's like 20 minutes exercise. The gimmick is like you're doing 4 hours of exercising in 20 minutes, and you're
Yeah,
like, yeah,
because it
sure,
feels like four
whatever.
hours. Yeah.
No, I actually quite enjoyed it. I went there with one of my housemates. She didn't like it at all, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And yesterday I started feeling it, and today I'm hurting like a motherfucker.
Try
Like
eating
it
bananas.
is. Hmm?
Try eating bananas.
Yeah, I'll. Now I need to drink more water, and I'm going back on Saturday. Actually, I took another session. I quite enjoyed it.
Actually, I know exactly what you mean because a lot of women here actually do that, where they put on that type of suit. And the reason why I said it felt like 4 hours because they told me like, yeah, you do like 20 minutes, but it's so intense
Hmm.
that it's very very difficult. But
Yeah,
obviously, it's
you're exercising like against your muscles because they're contracting and you're doing like an opposite motion or something like that. And it was nice until the last 2 minutes or 3 minutes where we had to do planking. And
oh
planking while being shocked
yeah,
is
that's a big
awful. Like it was so hard. So I think you have to hold for like 6 seconds, six
yeah.
or 10 seconds, I
It was
don't
like
remember, and then release, and then tense up and release, and oh my god, it felt like it was never going to end.
yeah. I hate normal planking, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was. I hope that during the next session we can just do something else than planking. But if I have to be honest, I felt like I was actually doing something. Like it was really working. So I'm going to try and go for several more sessions and see how it feels after like a couple of months.
To be honest, I'm quite curious of trying that myself, only because it's. But first off, let's get this out of the way. If you're gonna start exercising, you have to accept the fact that it's gonna be painful, no matter how you
The painful is not a problem. I don't mind actually the muscle pains after. It's quite nice. It's just that it was very surprising, but yet I was the one asking for, hey, this is not strong enough. It's not strong enough, and my housemate was like, the fuck are you doing? And so the guy kept like because he can like make it stronger and stronger, and I really did it until I could not take it anymore. So I really wanted to get the most out of the session just to really see how it would work.
So you went full choke me harder, daddy.
Exactly. And I know that I can go harder, and I really want to see how far I can go with that. I enjoyed the feeling. The feeling was not unpleasant.
I know what you mean. I would try it for the simple fact that it just takes. Well, you said what, 20 minutes? 20 minutes.
Yeah,
That's
it's quite fast. Like you're in and out, and you don't have to bring anything. Well, where I went, they give you the suit, and then they give you towels. They have a shower, deodorant, everything. Like you don't have to take anything with you. You can just go there, you change, and that's it. You yeah, everything is provided. You don't even have to come with gym clothes. At least where I did.
I like that just because you have the guy and he knows exactly what you have to do,
Hmm.
and just 20 minutes. So yeah, for me that's it's very efficient time wise.
Yeah, and also there are only two spots, so the guy is there with you all the time. It was only me and my housemate. They only do two people tops at a time.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into it actually. I may try it because I like doing it at home. I don't mind. It's just I hate the planning of it because obviously if you want to do all the muscle groups, you have to plan ahead. You have to have a schedule, and for me it takes about like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get a full workout going.
Hmm. Okay, I would suggest that we get into our first topic, which would be movies for tonight.
Oh yeah, good topic.
And yeah, like the other times, let's start with an easy thing, which would be your top 10 movies you would say like the most like influentials or that you liked the best.
Oh man, that's really tough.
Yep, it was not that easy for me to like TV shows, no problem. Like I could have the 10, like I had way more than 10, but for movies it was a bit harder.
So I would say I would rank them. It's kind of hard to rank them
You
exactly.
don't need to rank them, like you can just
Yeah, say what are the 10 most favorite.
yeah.
Um, I would definitely have to put Fight Club in there.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Hmm.
that movie was so influential for me because it. Well, first off, I was very young, and I think we discussed this previously. When you're very young, you're very susceptible to certain ideologies in movies, and obviously, the underlying ideology in Fight Club would be like anarchy. Sorry. So it felt like really cool and rebel against the system and burn everything down to the ground and that sort of thing, and also be very masculine and man, like that Brad Pitt body is just emblematic. Most people who go to the gym, uh, all the gym trainers say the same thing, that everyone says they want to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, which is something extremely hard to do because
Yeah.
obviously it's not only the
First of all, he's paid to be like that, so he can actually invest the time, and he has dietitians and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it's not
yeah.
easy to get like that. But yeah, I just like the general freedom that the movie implied, something that you don't need to follow the norms of society, that sort of thing, and it kind of shaped me in a way to be more rebellious and just not give a fuck about society's opinions in general,
Hmm.
which kind of stayed with me. Obviously, now
You
that
may have missed some of the points of the movie, though. I think.
I
But yeah, but go on. Sorry to
well,
interrupt.
I
Go go.
also read a bit of the book,
Hmm.
and I found that the book was way more interesting than the movie. Actually, I don't know if you've read it.
I haven't read, but I know that the
Oh my god, it's
like a lot of things, people who have read the book say that the
amazing.
takes are maybe more profound or more developed, more interesting,
Yeah,
since it's less for show. It's like they're actually telling, they're actually making a point, I think, in the book.
exactly. In the book, for example, Tyler Durden is actually gay.
Hmm, that's interesting.
That completely changes it. Well, not Tyler. What's the main character's name? Uh,
The one played by Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that guy's actually gay.
I'm trying to remember the sentence. I am Nanana's something, and
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm Jim's crooked liver or something like.
yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember the name. Either way, the name that stuck with everyone is Tyler Durden. Obviously, this was pretty cool actually. And there was a passage there that it was so amazing that it stuck with me all these years. So in the book, apparently, the main character meets Tyler Durden at a nudist beach, where he sees Tyler just grabbing some logs from the ocean and arranging them in a certain way in the sand. And Tyler actually comes up to him and he asks him what the time is, and he sees him that after a few seconds he stands kind of in the middle of those logs that he put around him, and he stays there for 1 minute and then he goes about his business. And then the main character Edward Norton comes and asks him, why did you ask me what the time was, why did you do that? And he said, well, I arranged the logs in such a way that at a certain time when the sun shined over the shone over the logs, it created a palm, a literal palm, and because of the shadows. And he said, for 1 minute, I lived in perfection. And I was like, oh man, that is so cool. I
Hmm.
found that very, very interesting when
Yeah.
I read that.
You know why we can't remember the name of the guy played by Edward Norton?
But,
He doesn't have a name. He's just the narrator.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? You never had a name? I was.
Yeah, because the names he gives, he go to those support groups, and
Okay.
he just gives fake names.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
I could have sworn that he had a name, but that
Oh.
it's funny to think back and like, well, I cannot remember his name. Yeah, he doesn't have one.
And in real fact, exactly decided that in the end.
Yeah, it's one of his. Yeah,
I'm not sure if
it's
it's
psychosis.
the name, but it's the one that everyone uses as. Yeah. So I would say that was one of the most influential movies I've ever seen. The second would be the first Matrix. Now,
Yeah.
I particularly remember this movie because I
First of all, it's one of the best movies ever.
it, yes, I wasn't sure if I should say it or not, but yeah, yeah, definitely, it is. I've seen the last one and it is shite. Um, but yeah, the first one is really cool, and the reason why I remember it is because I remember I was in my hometown with my parents, and I was this was back in what in '99, and it was released, and we would have like an HBO decoder legal thing
Hmm.
on our TV, and we managed to watch it, I think, about 2 years later. So I was about, I don't know, 12 years old, something like that. and obviously I wasn't allowed to watch it that late because it was around midnight or something.
Hmm.
And I was sleeping on the couch, and they were next to me watching the movie. And I remember I woke up when the movie started because of the soundtrack. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the
Hmm.
soundtrack was so cool. And I was like, what is this? It sounds so cool. And I used to watch it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it's so amazing. But I don't want them to know that I'm awake because they're gonna make me sleep in the room. So I just barely, would turn a bit around and just watch the whole thing, and my neck hurt like hell. But it was so fascinating that I just had to watch it till the end. And yeah, that the movie was just amazing. And it also, I think all the movies that I watched always revolved around either freedom or the ability to fly for some reason. I always liked that, the representation, the symbolism of that. So yeah, I would say the Matrix.
Yeah, for me it was so when the movie came out, I was still living in Africa, and one of my closest friends' stepfather was a marine. So the U.S. government would send them crates full of movies, like the latest release. So they would receive them as they came out, and that's how we would watch movies. And that's how I saw The Matrix, like before anyone had even heard of it in Africa. It was really, it was quite the experience because we would often have spend the night at his place. His parents were out. He was a bit of a troublemaker, but I was always kind of well behaved, and I had good grades. And his mom really liked me and wanted him to hang out with me, so I would rub off on him. And she wouldn't. They wouldn't mind letting us staying at home. And first we would watch a movie, and then we would play. We would simulate wrestling and playing catch and breaking furniture. But yeah, still it was good times.
That is interesting that all boys play because that was my go-to thing as well. Like whenever I would meet a kid my age, like the first thing we would do after we left our parents would be, "Hey, you want to wrestle? Yeah, sure."
Yeah, we had like every Thursday evening we would watch wrestling and then talk about it on Friday, and then the weekend would start and it would still be fresh, and we would try to redo the stupid moves that we had just seen.
I
Back then, who were the big names? Hulk was still there.
I love Hulk. Yeah, he's
Booker
awesome.
T. Booker
Okay.
T was there.
Wait, there was a wrestler called Booker T.
Yeah, a black guy.
You know where the name comes from, right?
No clue.
It comes from Booker T. Washington, one of the most
Oh
prominent
yeah.
uh, intellectuals in America, and who escaped slavery. He was a black guy, very influential.
Uh, huh.
Oh, and the biggest one that I remember, I didn't. Yeah, I used to watch wrestling as well, not that much, but yeah, I used to just love it. My favorite would be Hulk Hogan because obviously he was like
The
the
Hulk.
yeah, it was like the good guy, but also very strong, and
All right, brother.
the way he would talk would be so
Yeah,
masculine.
he was funny. I liked him.
Him was the one that I was most fascinated by was Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh my God,
Yeah, yeah, he was.
amazing
Yeah,
character, and just so
and the way he speaks, like it's just yeah, he was fascinating. I also like the Undertaker. The Undertaker had a presence I quite enjoyed.
yeah, he was yeah. I can see you liking the Undertaker is more your style.
Yeah, I'm dark and broody. That's why, as you can tell from
The
yeah.
complexion.
So and then the third movie.
So we have Fight Club, we have Matrix. Oh my
I'm
God,
I'm
the
writing them
one.
down. You can see them in the footnotes
Okay.
in case you lose track.
No, I was just thinking back to myself. So I would say a very very influential movie, and I don't think it gets a ton of respect for it. I would say it was a movie called The Beach
Oh yeah, I can.
with Leo. You remember it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to Thailand next year, so it has come back to the front of my mind. I think I watched it again last year with one of my housemates, and yeah, the story is I like it. It's a very nice cautionary tale about utopia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And not only because I was a kid when I watched it. Most movies that had an impact on me, when I was a child when I
Hmm.
saw them. But the impact was that, yeah, it presented this amazing, beautiful place, but also like when like the shark bit
Yeah. Hmm.
the Norwegian. Oh my God, that was like so like it changed everything for me because I didn't expect that at all, and it kind of changed the way I viewed utopias in general, but like on a subconscious level, not back then. What I really loved was the part where he got banished from the camp and he
And loses it. Yeah.
yeah and loses it. And I found that so fascinating the way he portrayed it, and
Yeah,
obviously
the way he processed the trauma of being excluded of paradise. It's I think maybe they were not going for that, but now that I think about it, it seems like a parallel from being excluded from the Garden of Eden.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of movies that I've well, not only that I've watched. I think we touched on this on previous episodes. Uh, how a lot of movies touch on our subjects from the Bible. A lot, like even on a subconscious level that you can't realize. And they make for really great movies. Lord of the Rings, obviously, being one of them. Um, so, yeah, so I would say the beach was very interesting. Oh, and the first one, I think it was the first time I got presented to suicide because of what was the guy's name? Bugs, if I'm not mistaken. He killed himself.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the guy who.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever saw something like that. Oh, okay, so you can, huh? So that's a thing.
For me, for the longest time when I was a kid, I thought. So I think up until I was maybe 8 or so. So I was stupid for a very long time about that specific point. Especially like in westerns or war movies, I figured that they would hire people who wanted to die to play the roles of people getting shot and killed in movies.
That's cute. No, but it's just being a kid, you know, and you have that innocence where even the way we view death as children
Yeah.
was we kind of understood the end of it, but didn't really perceive it as something very bad. We always, I
Yeah,
think, we
like
always
if
saw
you
it.
think about it now, that's a very dark place to go. Actually,
Yeah,
like people who just want to die and you shoot them and you put that in TVs in front of everybody. And but yeah, as a kid, you say, okay, yeah, if they want to die and they can play in a movie, then yeah, why not? Like
live out the dream,
that's
man.
how far as my thinking went.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, it's funny. So I would say the beach had a beautiful. Oh, and the scene at the end. I think that's the one that had the most impact from that movie.
With the email when he's going back.
Yeah, yeah, with the male when he says when he sees the picture with all of them from the beach, but and also the music comes on, and it just kind of reminded me of wow. I kind of remember my younger days when I was even younger, and you know how few responsibilities I had, and the places where I went with friends or family and going to the beach. It just popped up in my head at that point, and
Mm,
I always remember like a
yeah.
bit of nostalgia when I see that. So yeah, I would say the beach and oh, a very lovely movie. R.I.P. Robin Williams was
R.I.P. Is that the name of the movie?
no R.I.P. Rest in peace, Robin Williams.
Ah, okay, yeah. Mhm.
Because the movie, but how the fuck was it called? Was it
Flubber.
called? No, it was.
Ah, the poets thing.
Oh no, not the Bose thing. I saw that only later on, where he played Peter Pan.
Oh, Hook.
Yeah, that was the name. Okay, who? Yeah, I wanted to say Finding Neverland, but that was with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it's the other one. It's Hook,
So,
the one
yeah.
with her.
Oh my
I
God.
haven't seen it yet. It's on my to watch list.
Which one?
Hook. I haven't seen it yet.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You've seen? Okay, it's like from 92 or 94 something.
Yeah. Again, I grew up in Africa. We didn't have access to that many things. Although that that movie should have been there because I watched Jumanji when I was a kid.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
So definitely it must have been there. I just never heard of it when I was a kid, and then never got round to watching it.
It had a huge impact on me because I was again I was like about 10 years old maybe, and it kind of presented a lot, you know, about kind of a broken family, that sort of thing, and my parents going through a divorce earlier on. It kind of reminded me of that, and just the idea of going to a place where you're forever a child and no problems and everything's great. It just had a huge influence on me, and I would always watch that movie with like a reverie, and
Hmm.
just wouldn't even go to the bathroom. It was that lovely, and the way it was presented, it was just beautiful, and the story itself, because obviously the movie was nice, but the story, in fact, that the play, because it was a play at first, if I'm not mistaken, that got developed into a movie. It was just amazing. You know, this idea that you could go to a place where you would never grow up. It was just beautiful. So yeah, that really struck with me. And even now, if I watch it, I get teary eyed a bit. Um,
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely watch it. I have another film that I need to watch first, but then I'll watch this one.
yeah, and of course, obviously the actors, they played it marvelously.
Hmm.
So I would say that. Hmm, what else? Oh, oh yeah. Okay. The I think it was the well. I watched a few TV shows related to this topic, but I think the first movie where I was a child again, and I saw for the first time what it meant to see like a very powerful, independent woman, or like a type of feminist sort of thing. Because I was as I was raised by a single mom up until I was like I don't know, 8 or 9. Uh,
Jackie Brown.
no. That only later on. I didn't really perceive her as that powerful, to be honest. More like shrewd. But the first one was with, and I can't remember the name. It was one of the earliest movies of Samuel L. Jackson, and he played with like this woman who was uh, like a like a sleeper agent. And at one
Okay,
point, she becomes like this badass CIA double agent, and her memory comes back, and she goes on a rampage, and it's beautiful. Let me search it very quickly.
doesn't ring any bell at all.
I'm pretty sure you might have seen it because it's just an amazing movie. I think her name was like Davis something. Uh, Let me check. It was from '94. To be honest, the best movies that I've watched, I would say, would be from like the '90s.
Okay,
Definitely.
it's not the one where Samuel L. Jackson is has this bone sickness, right?
No. That's very
Unbreakable or something like that, right?
yeah. No, that's really early on. Oh, okay. I found it, but obviously it's translated in Romanian because why not? Yeah. So he played with Gina Davis, and the film was called The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh, never heard of it.
1996. Yeah, so Gina Davis was the movie starts out where she's like a soccer mom, having this perfect family and that sort of thing. And at one point, she just sees someone that triggers some memories in her. And bit by bit, she comes to the realization that she was actually a sleeper agent, like a very top CIA operative, an assassin actually, and she just goes through this transformation from a very weak um, soccer mom to this like badass woman who doesn't take no for an answer and that sort of thing, and very powerful, and she almost dies, and she teams up with Samuel L. Jackson. It's a very very beautiful movie, and for all the radical feminists out there back in the '90s, those were the true the true figureheads of women empowerment. And I just love to see them. And it was the first time where I saw, okay, that's really cool. I would really, really love to be with that sort of woman.
Okay, that's interesting. I have to make a quick parenthesis here to get back to my trip. When I was in New York, I was staying in the Bronx, and I went to see Snakes on the Plane. It came out that summer in 2006 when I was there, and there is that let's say image of black people going to movies and yelling at the screen and stuff like that, and that movie. Not to propagate like a wrong image of people, but during that movie that was what was happening. Like the Bronx, I think, was the best place to watch that movie. They made it so much more entertaining than that movie deserved to be.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So the next one would be, and this is, oh, I don't know if you heard, because we were talking news previously. Bruce Willis, he has like this condition where he's slowly losing his cognitive ability.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, it came out. I'm not sure how it's called.
Alzheimer's.
No, no, no. Aphasia, not what Jada Pinkett Smith has.
That's alopecia. It's not the same thing.
Uh, aphasia, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
uh,
Aphasia,
yeah, aphasia.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, poor guy will unfortunately decline not very gracefully in the coming years. Poor guy. But he did have a movie that I've seen. It was one of the first movies that I've ever seen in cinema. It was Hard to Kill.
Hard to kill.
Yeah, I'm sure you know the. No, no, Hard to Kill. Fuck. Die Hard.
Oh, Die Hard. Yeah, of
I'm
course. Yeah.
speaking directly from Romanian. Yeah. No, Die Hard is the movie. And oh my God,
Is a good movie. Well, the entire series is actually quite nice. I haven't seen the last one.
it's shit. Done.
Yeah, but the others are. I like the humor actually in those movies, and
Yeah, he had such a cool humor where, and
with the one-liners and stuff like that. It's just
Mhm,
gold. It's just pure gold.
exactly. And if you want to watch at one point on Netflix, there's like a TV series kind of thing where it's kind of like a series of documentaries about the most influential movies ever made, and it
Oh,
tells the backstory, and you learn so much about the production and what happened, and how some movies were like this close to never been made, and that sort of thing. And Die Hard was one of them because it was the first ever movie where you had the main character who was like very how should I say, very quirky in a way, but just your average Joe put in like this impossible situation, and he came through. But it was also pretty cool about it because before him you would have like the Arnold Schwarzeneggers or
yeah,
the
you would have machines actually, and
exactly,
yeah,
yeah. And this was the first movie that ever portrayed just like a normal guy in a just tough situation.
yeah. 90s Bruce Willis was not your average Joe. Like he was not looking bad.
He was not looking bad, but he was
But
not the archetype.
he was not a mountain of muscles like the
Exactly.
80s action figures were, action actors were.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it was so weird that he got. Plus, I remember him. Damn, I'm old. I remember him when he played with Sybil. It was like a TV show. It was like a sitcom back like in the early '90s or late '80s, and you would never have imagined he would play like an action movie because he had that funny way of being and had these one-liners and always being a bit sarcastic. So he portrayed that as well in Die Hard, but with this kind of hero flair to it. So yeah, that was different. Um, so the next movie would be, oh yeah, this definitely has to go there. Would be Batman, of course,
Which
19,
one? Ah,
1989.
the
What
okay.
do you think would, yeah, it was. Oh my god, it was like it was perfect from beginning to end. And it was just so like the way it started with, if you recall, with the penguin. The, he was put in like a basket and put down a river, and the penguins found him and they kind of raised him as their own, sort of thing. And one of the most, it was such a weird movie for me because it was one of the only movies where I actually cried when a villain died. Like when the penguin died, I actually cried for him because you had the little penguins and they were pushing him in the water, you know, to give like a
Hmm.
fighting farewell or something, and it was so touching. And yeah, I actually absolutely cried at that movie, and I loved it. And everyone was played it brilliantly, from the Joker to oh, Catwoman. That's one part that I really loved how Michelle Pfeiffer played her, because the way she became Catwoman was so interesting. Like she died because if you remember, she kind of she was pushed by her boss from, I don't know, like a skyscraper, and she fell, and obviously she died when she hit the ground. But then the cats came and like licked her wounds, and
Yeah, exactly. And then she came back to. Yeah, I remember the scene now. Yeah.
that was like so wow. It was like she's actually a Catwoman. You know, the symbolism of that was very striking, and I just love to see that. It was incredible. So yeah, that was really cool. And the entire movie, the way Batman played it, it was just beautiful. But you know, that's a Tim Burton movie for you. It has that impact.
But that's it's the 92 one that has.
The 92 one is the one I'm talking about.
I think so.
As I said, I don't remember. It's either 89 or 90 something. But yeah, that's for me. That was the perfect Batman movie. Is there was
It's
nothing.
Batman Returns.
Batman Returns. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah, so that was definitely really.
Oh, the French subtitle is awful. It's the challenge, Batman the challenge.
But how oh, you know, this really funny thing in Romania is, so from my perspective, because as you know, I'm a linguist because I finished conference interpreting in Bucharest. So
Mhm.
for me, I take it very personally when I see shit translation.
Yeah, the
And
I think the best movie title in Romanian, so the best superhero is Spider-Man. That translation is very violent.
oh yeah, because it's literally,
It's literally the Spider-Man.
yeah, literally the Spider-Man. Yeah, that's true.
How's it? Yeah, Bayasha. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was very weird. But normally all the other movies are just awful. And I can one thing that I really hate when going to someone's house is whenever we watch something on Netflix, and I can see they have their Netflix in Romanian. I'm like, oh come on,
Yeah,
stop being a commoner. Like really,
there is something vexing about people not going for original versions.
exactly. Yeah, it's like just make an effort, man. Come on. I thought you wanted us to be friends,
Yeah,
but
I guess some people enjoy it with the dubs, but they're wrong and it's
they're wrong.
fine.
Exactly. That's the right answer. They're wrong. Yeah, so that was one. The next, I have to put Forrest Gump here. Definitely have.
Okay, yeah.
It was such a beautiful movie. And the weird thing is,
God, I hate that woman. What's her name?
Janie.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Mm. And you know the weird thing about it? When I was a kid, I wasn't mad at her because I didn't know any better.
you didn't know how.
How much of
Oh,
a bitch she was.
that poor Forrest. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Then you have fucking HIV, and then you fucked a guy, and then you have a baby with. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like,
Like there is no fucking chill at any point with that woman. It's so fucking brutal.
yeah, it was really bad. She was the worst. Either way, the weird thing about it was every time I presented it to one of my girlfriends, because I have this like I used to have this sort of like Kim Jong Un mentality where it came to new girlfriends, where you would have to go to re-education camp and you would need to learn
Oh
the
god, yeah, okay, I
basics
see what you
of
mean.
life. Yeah, you need to learn what the best movies are. You need to watch Star Wars, and don't give me any of that shit because I don't get it. Like, shut up, just pay attention, and I will ask questions afterwards. So you better pay fucking attention to it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I don't operate that way. I'm more of a. I just like sharing what I'm passionate about, and if they get into it, fine. If they don't, then that's also fine. Then I have an excuse to get out of their things as well.
no, that's the thing. I used to try to do it by force, just like if you don't understand the consequences if we're not on the same page on this.
There is nothing I'm let's say passionate enough that this would become a problem. I'm more chill about things. I am passionate about things, but not to the point of becoming a Nazi about it.
Well, I kind of gave up on the idea, but I still, I'm still a bit not salty, but I will make fun of you if you consider the Lord of the Rings a shit movie or that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
but then again, you like Saw, and that's a shit movie. So yeah,
I don't like Saw.
you just said that you make them sit through Saw, which is like an episode of Saw itself, having to sit through those
Oh
movies.
no. I think
Ah,
misunderstood.
okay,
I never seen Saw actually.
okay, that's good. Like there, I think the first one was interesting, like the concept and everything. The second one, why not? But then they should have stopped. Like that was enough.
I don't know. For me, horror movies or like very thriller movies, they kind of very they. I never had a flair for them, to be honest. The only ones that truly scared me were the ones when I was a kid. Things like Nightmare on Elm Street
Oh
uh,
yeah, that's a
and
good one.
Chucky.
Chucky never got to me. It never worked on me. But
Uh,
the yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street
that was
was awful for me because for the longest time in my life I was having sleep paralysis, and yeah, so I know how inescapable those situations were. So this movie spoke to me to another level. Like that character Freddy Krueger is. It was very traumatizing to me when I was younger.
yeah, it was as well. But to me, I saw it a bit later. But yeah, it scared the shit out of me. I wasn't able to watch I can never watch like a full movie of it
Hmm.
because the idea that, oh my god, when I'm gonna go to sleep, it was just so real. When you
Yeah,
would go,
you cannot not sleep.
yeah, you cannot, yeah,
That's the thing. It's the inevitability of it.
and
But now Freddy Krueger is one of my favorite like movie characters. If I had to do a top 10 of characters, I think Freddy Krueger would be in there.
it's amazing. And I actually feel for the guy a bit.
Yeah, he got fucked real good.
He got fucked really bad. Like the villagers like burned him and everything. Like, Jesus, man, where's the trial? Where's the?
Yeah, the 80s and the 90s had no chill.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
They didn't have time to fuck around.
Yeah,
Okay, next movie after Forrest Gump.
next movie after Forrest Gump, I would say Terminator 2, definitely. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
I can. Yeah,
It
I
was
didn't put it in my top 10, but it would have ended up in my honorable mentions.
it was just, yeah, and I know it's living in this era, especially now where you have Marvel and DC and everyone's a fucking superhero and killing everyone and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I
But
have superhero fatigue.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not into the
I
hype.
can definitely understand why you would put it in the honorable mentions. The reason why I put it in my top 10 is just because he was kind of the staple back then.
Yep.
And
Him and RoboCop, actually, both of them. RoboCop was the violence. It's mwah, mwah, mwah,
but
I
yeah,
just love it.
the
That
balance was
and Judge Dredd
amazing.
as well.
And Judge Dredd, yeah, yeah, man.
Judge Dredd is such an amazing superhero.
What the fuck happened with portraying that type of violence? Is I remember in RoboCop. Remember the fucking guy from? Like that '70s show, Red.
Yeah, exactly right.
He fucking shot the.
I'll buy that for $1.
I'm not sure if that was his catchline.
No, it's just something that is playing on TV while they're looting in the
Oh,
movie.
okay.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember like him fucking shooting Murphy with like a shotgun and blowing his arm off, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm a kid, and I
Oh,
remember like that was very, very fucking violent.
I have to share something with you, and I'll also post it in on Instagram later. There is a guy who made a 10-minute long rap telling the story of the first movie, and it's just really good. I hope I can still find it. I will put it up later. But yeah,
The story of the first movie, RoboCop, you mean?
yeah.
What do you mean? As in the story of?
He is rapping. He's rapping the summary of the movie,
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Yeah.
and it's a 10-minute long non-stop like rap. Very very good. I really like it.
You should, as I said, if you're a big movie buff, you should definitely watch this series on Netflix because it talks about all of them, like Terminator, RoboCop, Die Hard, all the best movies. Like Tim Burton's, what was it, Christmas?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, so it talks about all the most influential movies and how they got to be and everything is really, really interesting. You should definitely watch it.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely Terminator 2, uh, just because the idea of this like super alpha male where he wouldn't sleep, it was like the perfect role model, of being a man. Basically, he wouldn't stop for anything and get his mission to the end. And the way he died at the end, where he just showed like an okay sign, it was just oh. And
Yeah.
particular thing that I really loved was the kid, the John
Yeah,
Connor.
John Connor.
Like he was so cool. Like I thought, like that's the coolest kid that I've ever seen. And we weren't exactly the same age. He was a few years older, but I used to think like his hairdo, for example, it was amazing. And the whole movie, even when like he talked to the kid's parents, if you remember, where he played a trick to see if his parents were still alive, where he talked about the dog's name, and he was purposefully told a different name, like how's Wolfie, and the parents said, "Oh, Wolfie is fine," and he hangs up and says, "Your parents are dead." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Holy shit, man, that was smart. That was some computer shit. No wonder you're a robot."
Yeah, that's I really like that movie. Like the yeah, and I also like the Terminator versus RoboCop rap battle. From epic rap battles of history.
Hmm.
It is quite nice as well. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting. After
Remember.
Terminator, so we're one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Two more movies for you.
Oh man, this is a tough one. Let me think. Let me think. Which ones would be the best? Nah, there's so many. Fuck. I'm definitely gonna not remember some, but I would say Empire of the Sun definitely needs to be there.
Empire of the Sun. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Empire of the Sun. It's actually, if not the first, one of the first movies that Christian Bale ever starred in.
Oh, I know the image. I've seen that image.
It's such a beautiful movie, and the thing that really got stuck with me was the song. So you have like this very religious song that comes up at first when the movie starts, and you immediately think that it's some Asian language, maybe not Japanese, because we're familiar with it, but maybe Chinese or something.
Hmm.
Some of those languages there. And I did some research afterwards, and I found out it is a religious song, but it's a Christian Gaelic song,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and it's like a very, very beautiful song. And Christian Bale plays the song in the movie as well. But yeah, it was just so interesting. It was beautiful, and the entire way he put. I think it was the first child actor that I've ever seen that I had like an immediate respect for him as an actor and not put him in the category of child
Child
actor.
actor, yeah. Hmm.
He was so good that he was like, just you're amazing. But if I may, I would rather put this in like honorable mentions.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would like to leave Back to the Future. Like
Okay,
that,
yeah. Hmm.
I have to put that there because it was just so revolutionary. And I think maybe the thing that struck with me most was not necessarily the fact that they could get back to the future, get in the past and back to the future, but um, because it was set in like the 1980s, and I was living in Romania, and the landscape would be just gray buildings, post-communist buildings. Seeing the lifestyle of your average American family, I think that's
Oh, yeah. Mm.
that struck with me the most because it was the first time I've ever seen that, and I would just imagine like, yeah, that was the first time that it got stuck in my head, the idea that okay, that is the ideal, that is where I need to be. And I used to shout at my parents like, why the fuck weren't we born in the US? Why did we go there? Funny fact, we actually had the possibility of going there. My dad, when it was the 1994 World Cup, football World Cup, it was played in the US, and back then you could easily get a visa to go and be a supporter there and watch the football games because Romania was like really big back then. It was one of the best teams in the world.
I
Um,
wouldn't know anything about football.
yeah, we actually beat Argentina and
Yeah.
wild Maradona.
And
And
for our American listeners, we're talking about soccer, not football.
yeah, but the correct way is football. I'm sorry, I will never give this up. I understand, but we invented it first, so get over it. Anyway, so yeah, so people had the possibility of going there, and as many immigrants did, obviously, once they got there, they wouldn't come back. So yeah, he actually had the possibility of going there, but he chose not to because obviously, if he went there, he would stay there illegally, and he couldn't leave the country. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to go back.
Mhm.
So that was a missed opportunity. But because of the movie like this, and especially Back to the Future, I was so enamored with America and with the lifestyle and with everything that I saw coming out of there, then that I just got it in my head that everything that comes out of America is amazing. So whenever my parents would try to feed me like schnitzels or whatever, schnitzel for some reason is big in Romania. Never
Yeah.
understood why.
Yeah,
Um,
because you were colonized or occupied, let's say, by civilized people.
but yeah, that was back in
That's a hot take.
back in the West. But
Well, not
that
as
was
hot as the ovens, but still. Oh.
fair enough. But yeah, I just hated that dish because whenever we would go on trips, the sandwich that we would always have with us would be a schnitzel between two slices of bread, and it would make for like the worst dry sandwich you would ever imagine. And I just fucking hated that shit. So, and obviously, it would be made with like a lot of oil, and it would be greasy and just disgusting. But I would eat it if you would tell me that the schnitzel came from America
Okay.
or Germany. Because my nanny was used to live in Germany, so obviously she brought like a lot of sweets and stuff from there that we didn't even have in the stores here. So I had like chocobons and Kinder uh,
Hmm.
chocolate before I even seen it here. So I would see it in commercials, and yeah, I just fell in love. And the staple of civilization for me was America and Germany. Like everything that came out of there was top notch. That was clear. So my that actually had to trick me that the food that I was eating was actually from Germany or America. Otherwise, I wouldn't eat it. I would,
That is a belief that is still prevalent in Romania that German made stuff is of higher quality. That's why you have all those like They're not German store, but they're like with the German flag, and they're called
Mhm.
Germania or stuff like that.
Everything that relates to Germany is perceived as yeah, being very high quality.
Mhm.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of true in up to a certain extent. I learned that there's a lesson in economy that people in economic school learn about. I don't know the name of it, but apparently Germany at one point developed such an amazing sewing machine that it would never break.
Really?
And yeah, it was such a big case that it actually became a case study in economic school. So
So sewing as in thread, right? Not sewing as in wood.
no, sewing as in Fred, yeah. So sewing clothes. So it was so well made that it would never break. But because it would never break, people would never buy spare parts or would never buy a replacement. So the company actually went bankrupt because of this. And that was a lesson in economics where you could never make a product, even though you have the capacity, you should never make a product that would never ever break because it wouldn't be on the market for too long. Because at one point, just people would stop buying it because why would they?
Yeah, it's not viable. It's like the when all those big lamp makers got together and said, you know what, we're going to make bulbs that burn out faster, like light bulbs.
Yeah, that's why, from my perspective, the idea of the Tesla's dream or Tesla's perceived dream by people of finding like this power source that would never, you know, go out is very improbable. So I don't see that ever happening. Yeah. So the last movie I would say that I really loved would be Legends of the Fall. Yeah,
Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall. Yeah, that movie really struck with me. It was just
I have to look it up because again, I have never,
you've never seen it?
I haven't even heard of the name.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm looking at the posters now.
You can see
Oh,
Anthony
that's a
Hopkins.
baby Brad Pitt.
Yeah, exactly. One of his first movies, and it was, as the title suggests, is just that magnificent. It's just a magnificent movie. Legends of the Fall. Just the entire story of it and the way it plays out and the interesting nuances in how everything changes several times actually during the movie. It's a very long movie. First of all, it's just amazing. And the different time periods that it displays, it was just breathtaking. I could watch that movie on and on. To be honest, it's that good. But you should definitely watch it. I would definitely recommend it.
It his look in the movie reminds me of Louis de Pointe du Lac. It's the kind of the same look he had, minus the goatee and beard, obviously, in Interview with a Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire. Oh my god, I
And
love that.
Louis, yeah, Interview with a Vampire is such a good movie. I
I would
really, really
definitely
like
put that as an honorable mention
it.
as well.
Definitely honorable mention. Yep.
Always whining, Louis.
I love Lestat. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the movies that endeared Tom Cruise to me. Like I wasn't really a big fan of his, but that movie somehow it endeared me to like it endeared him to me.
Hmm. What I would also say is, if you ever get a chance, read the book. The book.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, I have a reading list that is so fucking long. I definitely it's
Vampires.
there. Hmm?
If you're interested in vampires, as in the lore and everything, I would say this is the book to read.
It is one of the let's put it that way. It's one of the book series. Anne Rice is one of the authors that um, brought the modern vampires to life. and it has inspired a lot of things afterwards, and it is like um I don't know if we can still call it the golden age, because I guess Dracula, the first Dracula movie, would be like the golden age of vampires, but it is like the silver age, and everything went downwards afterward. The only thing that remotely saved the vampire image after the Twilight debacle, although I think it came a bit after that, is True Blood. That TV show was amazing. I really
Oh, you
loved
like
it.
True Blood? Oh, that's so good to
I
hear. Love
love True Blood.
yeah,
It's
me as
oh
well.
my God. Have you seen those guys? Like
Yeah,
I wasn't even, I don't think
I love.
I have paid so little attention to women than in True Blood. Like
Mm.
Eric Northman, yes
Oh
please.
my God! Like the first I've ever seen it was like Jesus. You are male perfection. Like
Yep.
amazing. It's
Alexander
like I loved it
Skarsgård.
from the first episode. I loved it from the first episode. But
Yep.
the reason why I'm recommending the book is because, from my perspective, it represents the most realistic way in which you would envision a vampire and a vampire's life.
Hmm.
Because if you remember in the movie, the like big vampire played by Antonio Banderas, at one point he kind of is very distraught about
What was his name? I think it's Armand. Armand.
Armand. Yeah,
Armand. Yeah, he was playing Armand.
yeah. So he's very distraught, and he needs Louis because he embodies the new age, and he needs him to understand the time period that he's living
Hmm.
because he lives for so long. And in the book, it portrays perfectly well this the mental direness that he's in, like how real it affected him, being so old a vampire that he just doesn't understand the times that he's living, and it really makes you wonder about if you would ever have the possibility to be immortal, if he would actually pursue it, because it's not that you would not die. That wouldn't be the problem. It's just that you would kind of uh, go into sort of mental suicide without actually dying, because you would be very solitary, because you just wouldn't understand the world you're living anymore.
Yeah.
So nothing
Hmm.
would make sense.
It's like I think comparable to sort of a brain death. Not maybe not brain death, but um, uh, sorry, my mind was going somewhere, and I forgot. If it comes back, I will get back to it. But
Good.
it's a in a way it's a way of dying, because you're just there, and I think it's quite comparable to a feeling people might have gotten in the past couple of years with the pandemic. Like you're just alive. Like you're
Yeah,
just here.
yeah,
You eat your shit, but what else is really happening in your life? Are you truly alive?
yeah. Exactly. You don't
It's a kind of undeath.
the
Like
beauty of life anymore. You
mhm.
just don't understand everything is yeah, something like that, but much worse, obviously.
Yeah, because of
Fire.
the like for us it was just 2 years, but for
Imagine
him it was like
2000.
yeah.
So yeah, it's beautifully portrayed, and it really stuck with me that book. But yeah, unfortunately, I would say top 10 movies would still not cover. Uh, Maybe would cover half of the movies that I would say were really influential. So there are a lot of other movies that I would give honorable mentions to, like American Beauty, or not to mention like the '90s classic, fun movies like comedies, for example, like what's the one with Marlon Wayans, the Wayans
Oh,
brothers,
scary movie.
Scary Movie 1 and 2. That was
Yeah,
like
they were good. The other ones really went to shit, but
yeah,
one and
one
two,
and
and
two were good.
also they made another one that I really like, where they're like in what in French we call the ghetto, like they're like gang members, but not really, and they made a comedy, like a parody of gangster movies, and it was quite fun as well.
Okay. I don't remember, but yeah, as I said, there are a lot of movies, but normally from the '90s, I would put. So everything that would have Robin Williams in it. He had one where he played like he was a child, but he had like a disease where he would grow. It's like a reverse Benjamin Button.
Okay.
If you remember it, he was just like a when he was 12 or something, he looked like he was 30, that sort of thing. Goodwill Hunting would definitely be an amazing movie. Requiem for a Dream. So a lot of
I
amazing.
still haven't seen Requiem for a Dream, but I don't really want to watch it. It doesn't. First of all, I'm not really into that kind of movies. It's I don't know if I either empathize too much with what would be happening in the movie, or I fear that I would empathize too much,
Yeah,
or simply that yeah, I don't know. It just it's just a movie I don't feel the need to see.
yeah. I think it's a very good movie, but it represents like if you want to it's one of the movies where if you want to learn what it's like for a drug addict like heroin drug addict and his life and that sort of thing, it's like very uh I wouldn't say cringe, but maybe that's the word.
But what I do like is the soundtrack.
Oh,
I
amazing.
listen to the soundtrack though. I haven't seen the movie, but I really like the music of the movie.
Definitely, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and one honorable
Mhm.
mention again, if you may, if I may, would be
Mhm.
LA Confidential.
LA.
LA Confidential, I
Okay.
would say it's one of the best put together movies that I've ever seen. Like
Okay.
from every point of view, from plot wise to character interpretation to soundtrack, everything just fit together perfectly. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie like that. That just made everything very well put together.
Okay.
Okay, so what are yours?
Yeah. Well, I have a leg up on you here because I actually wrote them down, but it took me forever to remember 10 movies. I'm going to talk about that a bit later. Um, so, in no particular order, I would say 12 Monkeys.
Oh my, yes, yes, yes.
That movie really was a revelation for me. I had just moved to Switzerland, and I guess there is a context to why it worked for me. So it's a movie I had never heard about before. I went down. There was a tabac next to our place in Geneva, and I went there to grab cigarettes for my dad because back then you could still kids could still go and buy it. And then I saw that I had just gotten my allowance, and I saw that movie for 5 Swiss francs in the store, and it was like it had a age restriction on it, but the guy didn't care. Like he knew me, and I could just buy it. And I was like, okay, fine, a movie that I can just buy next next to where I live. I got it, went home, watched the movie, and my brain was not ready. I think I was 12 or 13 back then, and my this is one of the movies that um, started my transition from being a kid to an adult.
Oh, well, did you understand it at first?
No, but I watched it several times that first year I got the movie.
Until you did.
Mm, I think it's not as deep as one would think it is, but I just like everything about it. There is like on up to the very last second of the movie, you are being misled, and I really really like that about that movie until that very last frame.
Definitely, yeah, it happened to me as well. But I think it took me because I only watched it like one, two times because we would watch it on TV.
Yeah.
And only later in life that I realized how the plot was made in the sense that, as you said, that it was misleading, and that you found out that at the end uh, he would see himself as a child.
Yeah, and there is also something inevitable about what happened.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
did
Yeah,
everything and gave his life, and I'm not going to give spoilers, but it is quite nice. I really like it. Then I would say 2001: A Space Odyssey.
oh yes, that's a good movie. I only saw it
Um,
later in life, but yeah,
huh?
amazing. I only saw it later in life, but yeah,
Yeah, I saw it. Actually, I discovered Kubrick with Clockwork Orange.
I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, that's a it's a very brutal movie, and I would actually get physically sick from watching it.
Really?
And it gave me a taste for those movies, for that kind of movie. And then I watched a bit more of Kubrick's work, and but I would have to go with 2001: A Space Odyssey because I'm just a space guy. I just like things related to space. Although that movie is really long, it's not an easy watch, and I wouldn't blame anyone not who wouldn't be willing to watch it to the end.
I remember it was
Yeah.
very.
Then there is The Fifth Element.
If I may, for a second, for the first movie, did you would watch cartoons, right, as well when you was a kid?
Yeah, yeah,
Did you
yeah.
see any resemblance from that movie to a particular cartoon? Because I definitely did.
Mm, which
Like
one?
Dexter's Laboratory.
Huh, not even remotely.
So in Dexter's Laboratory, you have a lot of and that was very like a staple back in the 90s with a lot of cartoon shows
Da-da-da,
where a lot of
da-da-da. Sorry, I'm humming the theme because now I have it in my head.
um, where you would a lot of episodes would kind of represent a certain cult classic movie. So, for example,
Oh yeah.
you would have an episode in Dexter's Laboratory, and I saw that first before I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey with the computer. So at one
Oh,
point,
so it's a throwback to Hal.
yeah, it's a throwback to that movie where his
Oh,
computer basically kind of transforms into the computer from the movie.
yeah. I thought you were asking about 12 Monkeys. That's why I couldn't see a
No,
connection.
I think I saw that as well, a
Hmm.
reference, but very few references.
Okay. And yeah, so then The Fifth Element, which is in my mind
Oh,
one of the best movies. Like I just like it. It's just so good. I watched it like I think 3 weeks ago again. I
yeah,
watch it regularly. I really, really like that movie.
también multipass.
Then a Japanese movie called The Taste of Tea.
Huh.
It is it's a, it's a very slow-paced movie
Okay.
that throws curveballs at you. Like out of nowhere, you will have those fucked up scenes. Not in a gory sense, like just in a what kind of drugs did they take to have the idea of that scene? Um, and but it is like a slice of life kind of movie that takes its time, and most of the time during the movie they are sitting and drinking tea while something is happening.
Hmm.
And it's quite interesting. I would highly recommend, like, as far as Japanese movies go, I think this is a very, very good one.
I did become very interested in Japanese movies, but especially the old ones uh, because I have such appreciation for their culture and they're like super perfectionist.
Hmm.
There is, maybe correct me if I'm saying it right, Kurosawa.
Yeah, Kurosawa.
Yeah, so that's is a famous director. And another one, I'm not sure if it's him, but he made a movie when he was very good at black and white movies, and he was one of the first Japanese directors to make like a color film. And because it was something new in worldwide cinema, he was one of the best at it just because he knew how to portray the colors on a big screen so well that it would just catch your eye. It was just amazing.
Is it from Kinoshita? Keisuke Kinoshita?
Uh,
Carmen Comes Home?
I don't think so. It's mostly
Okay.
with samurai. Uh, I'll just check this on Google in the meantime. Hmm.
Okay. And so The Taste of Tea. Then I would put Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. It's an excellent movie. It's really really good. And the thing is that it's actually a redo of the first one, but where it feels like the director could actually do whatever he wanted with this version, like with less oversight and stuff like that. So it turned out so good. And Bruce Campbell is one of the best actors ever for that for that movie alone. Um,
I don't,
uh, hmm?
I don't remember it.
But you know Sam Raimi.
I think so.
I don't want to say something wrong, but I think he is the one who. Yeah, you like the original Spider-Man movie, like Spider-Man One, Spider-Man Two,
Yeah, I do.
the one with Tobey Maguire.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's him. He's the
Oh,
director.
okay. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I
if you
thought,
watch Evil Dead, like there is no it's not the same person.
what's it about?
Evil Dead.
Yeah.
It's about the Evil Dead.
Oh,
No, it's so just to summarize it real quick. It's like an '80s teenage kind of thing where like young people, let's say, go to a cabin in the woods, and then they it used to belong to an occult researcher, and they found the Necronomicon, and they read it, or I think they play a tape that contains readings of it, and they invoke the evil dead, which is like the spirit of all the dead and stuff like that. And then the thing is that it's not a horror movie, it's more of a gore movie. And I really
oh,
like gore movies, and but it has a lot of humor. Like it's really really funny. um and there's some fucked up scenes and stuff like that. And the movie doesn't end. Like Evil Dead 3 is also very good. Like people might not agree with that statement, but Evil Dead 3 is also an interesting take on that. Like it's just always more. Like it gets there is no end as to what extreme you can go, not in the gore sense of thing, but in the how ridiculous you can get with a movie.
oh, I see.
And
Could be that way.
yeah, and in recent years they did Ash versus the Evil Dead. With Ash is the name of the main character, and so they took the same actor, Bruce Campbell. Like he's older, he got fat and everything, and the deads are back, and he has to fight them. But he is very like clumsy, and he's not good at all. What he do, he's like out of breath all the time, and it's still like very comedic, and I have a great fondness for it. And one of the actresses actually in I forgot her name. Wait, I need to check. Ash versus the Evil Dead. Um, uh, Lucy Lawless. Do you know who that is?
No.
She's the one who played Xena, the warrior princess.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so they're actually friends. And in Xena, Bruce Campbell plays one of her friends. He's the merchant or something like that. And so they've been acting together for a while. And so when they rebooted The Evil Dead as a TV show with Ash versus Evil Dead, she joined the cast, and she's one of the characters. And I really like her character as well in the TV show.
Oh, interesting. Okay. By the way, I just wanted to mention I found in the meantime, yeah, so the name of the movie is Ran, but it's by Kurosawa.
Ah, okay.
So it's one of his later works when they did have color, and it's regarded as one of the best samurai movies ever made. Obviously, not surpassing, in my opinion, the best samurai movie ever made, Seven Samurai.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it.
No. I have that, and there are a lot of like old Japanese movies that I also have on the back burner. But those are movies I need to be in a mood, in a specific mood, to be able to um, not appreciate them, but to revere them as they deserve to be.
Mhm. Exactly, yeah, because
Yeah.
they deserved it. I get it. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so after Evil Dead 2, I would say the Matrix as well. It's in my top 10. I'm I'm partial to Reloaded and Revolution. I like them as well, and not because of the shitty graphics. That I don't know what they did with the image. They it really went to shit. But I just like the trilogy as a piece of work
Hmm.
in general. Um, I like in English it's called The Dinner Game, which is actually it's a French movie. It's called Le Dîner de Cons. It's like a theater piece but played as a movie, and it's incredibly funny. Especially since you understand French, you should definitely watch it. It's not that long; it's like an hour and 20 minutes, not even. And it's about a very rich guy that has a lot of rich friends, and they try to find the dumbest people in the commoners to bring to dinner parties, and then they mock them. They try to find like yeah, very
That
dumb
sounds
people.
French.
So and there is a guy who can't go to the dinner, but he's on the train and notices a guy, and they and the bad guy, like, he's not a bad guy, but the asshole is uh, he works for an editor or something like he can publish. He's a publisher for books. Yeah, that's the word. And so the guy on the train tells the idiot, "Hey, I have this friend who publishes books, and he can publish books about your passion." The guy makes models with matchsticks, and he makes jokes about their names. Like he's an idiot. And then throughout the movie, you just discover more about that he may be an idiot, but he's a very good. Like you discover more about the personality of the guy, and where you were laughing at him in the beginning, you're like, "Oh fuck, I'm such an asshole. Like I'm the scrub of the earth for laughing at that poor guy. He has nothing but goodness in him." And but it's very moving, and it's also very very funny in a like French movie kind of thing. I would also put Mission Cléopâtre, which is the Asterix et Obélix.
Okay, yeah, classic.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in English. I mean, in the sense I don't know how it was translated, because it is just a pun masterclass,
Yeah, I've
and
never
it
seen it
only works in
translated.
French. There's so many things
Exactly.
I
Yep.
don't think how they could even remotely translate them.
I think it did. Because I remember watching Asterix and Obelix movies, and all of them were not translated because they were not dubbed. Just because it just
It's just not at least that movie.
yeah.
This specific movie is not dubbable, I think.
I think I tried it later on, but it didn't have the same flair to it.
Yeah, and that I watch that movie regularly, like once every other year or so. And since it came out, and for I would say easily the 15 years that followed, every time I would watch the movie, I would find out new jokes that I had not heard yet or that I didn't catch. Uh, because it's just jokes after jokes after jokes, and depending on what you're paying attention to, you will catch something maybe more physical or a play on words or something. It's just it's a masterpiece. I really really like that movie.
You know what's curious about sorry to interrupt you, about French movies? A lot of people kind of regard them, French and Italian movies, I would say. For some reason, they kind of regard them as, I don't know why, not commercial enough or something. And I never really understood that because, for example, I watched quite a few French movies in my time. And, for example, I loved Jeux d'enfant. I found it
But Jeux
very,
d'enfant is a very very good movie.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
the one with the truth or dare, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. This one is a very good movie.
sounded very nice. I saw quite a few of them actually. There was one with there was like a Christian mission in, I don't know, some like country plagued with terrorism, somewhere in the Middle
So
East.
to be fair, you can quote a lot of names, and chances are I would not even have heard of them because I usually stay away from French movies. They don't speak to me except for a few like comedies and maybe one or two movies that I was made to watch by someone else. But other than that, I really can't get into it. It's too introspective for the sake of being introspective. In in my point of view. It
Okay.
feels like they really like the smell of their own farts.
Okay, okay. So that must be the reason why. No, because usually whenever I watch a movie, I give it my full attention and I try to watch it as a fan, let's say, and try to really appreciate it to the best of my abilities. So maybe that's why I can kind of understand them and kind of get into them. Not all of them, obviously, but
Hmm.
most of them, and especially the TV series like Pink Panther, for example, or what's the other one? Le Gendarme.
À Saint-Tropez, les gendarmes de Saint-Tropez.
Well,
But that's a comment. That's well. Louis de Funès is
yeah,
a master. Like he has mastered the art of comedy and the physical comedy. He's so good at physical comedy
yes,
on top of words of mastering words. And there is Rabbi Jacob as well, which is quite funny. Um, and I think La Soupe aux Choux. Yeah, he is just good. Like anything he touches, well, rest in peace because he has been dead for a while now. But almost everything he touched, he turned to gold.
mm,
So if you base your appreciation of French movies on his work, then yeah, you're bound to like it because he's one of the best, in my opinion, that has come out of France.
fair enough.
There
And
is Fernandel as well in the
watch
old
anything
school.
about Alain Delon.
Uh,
Maybe they're too far back. Maybe I'm guessing. I don't know.
he's he's weird, man. Like as a person, I mean, not as an actor, but as a person. Like he would often like speak of himself in third person.
Seriously?
Yeah, and so like he was very odd, and I don't know, the it never spoke to me. But a guy I really like is Vincent Cassel.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Vincent Cassel, he's really good.
Have you seen
Uh,
Irrésistible?
hmm?
Irrésistible?
Irréversible.
Irréversible.
No,
Merci.
I haven't seen it, but I yeah, this is. I've
Okay,
seen another one of his movies that I really liked. I cannot remember the name of it.
I
Let
think
me
I
just.
do. No, maybe not that one. Maybe not the one.
They will. I think something along the lines of they will inherit the earth or something like that. Let me find it in French.
I
Uh,
saw one of his first movies that I really, really loved, and I should have put it in. Well, at least as an honorable mention. La Haine.
yeah, Lion obviously is.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's an old movie. Oh, Le Pacte des Loups, obviously.
Which,
The I don't know how it's called in English. I will check. It's where they hunt la bête du Gévaudan.
okay.
It's really really good. Like the cinematography of the movie is really good, and the acting also. Well, I liked it, but
Yeah, I find him a very interesting actor. Plus, also, I'm very jealous of him, obviously, because he was married to the goddess Monica Bellucci.
yeah, well, yeah, Our Day Will Come. Notre jour viendra. That's the movie. So it's a very like he plays those very odd roles, and
Yeah,
it's a movie where uh I don't know, I don't remember how he gets to meet that redhead teenager, and they just go on a road trip, and um it starts as him being like understanding of the prejudice and stuff like that, and he's trying to teach him life lessons, but he's also being an asshole to him. It's and French, I guess, cinema is good at doing what we call huis clos. I don't know how it's called in English. Where people are in a room, they're trapped in a room, and everything happens in a room, like a murder mystery or something like that. And they're good at doing that. And this is kind of a huis clos, but in a car.
I think it's because of so many. Correct me if I'm wrong, but French actors have a very long history, I think, in theater.
Yeah, they a lot of them are theater actor. Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense that presenting a movie, for example, in the room would do it very well.
It focuses on the acting. The room is just the place where it happens. You could put them in any other room, or you could put them in 10 different places. It wouldn't add to the movie because the acting is good to begin with. Like
Yeah,
the acting is enough, and yeah, they are actors in the literal sense of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So yeah, Vincent Cassel is very good. So the last two movies, I would say Lord of the Rings
Of course.
and Mad Max. All of the Mad Maxes, all
Even
of them.
even Fury Road.
Oh, I love Fury Road.
Okay. No, I was just curious because usually when you have like die-hard fans of previous trilogies or something
Mhm.
like that, when they make new movies, they not tend to be as good.
Well, the
But
thing is that if you compare doing a new movie for The Matrix and doing a new movie Mad Max won that game.
by a
Like
lot,
by
I would say out of all of the trilogies that were ever made afterwards, well, movies that were made after the trilogies, I mean, Mad
Mhm.
Max would be the only one that would stand out to be actually really well made. Because otherwise, what do you have? You have Star Wars, which was what you can't even mention them. You have Star Trek, which was shit as well.
um they were not that good, but they were not
Yeah,
that
okay, fair
bad
enough.
either. Like I was
I was more thinking about
I was way more, maybe I was more indulgent towards Star Trek than Star Wars reboots, which
Hmm.
is odd because I'm not a Star Wars fan at all. But I do love Star Trek. I love my Star Trek, and this is yeah. I felt less offended for Star Trek than for Star Wars. But then again, I really like the cast in Star Trek in the reboot. Like all the actors, I knew them. I really liked them, and I don't know, the picture was nice. It was like, even if the stories were not that good, the pictures and everything was decent and pleasant to watch.
Yeah, I would say I overreacted a bit just because I can see it through the lens of I wanted to get into Star Trek really bad, and I made a huge mistake where I watched I think it was Star Trek Discovery or something like the
The
TV
one
show.
on Netflix.
Yeah, and it
Oh,
was
we don't talk
so
about this
woke,
one. Yeah,
and I
no,
was like, oh my
we
god,
don't talk. She's a Mary Sue, and
yeah.
nothing can happen to her. She has the worst plot armor in the history of plot armor. We don't mention that as I wouldn't consider that a Star Trek
Yeah,
series.
and I think that's why I saw it through that lens because I was so
Oh,
disappointed with
they
that, and I was like,
fucked the Klingons so hard. I don't know what they're trying to do with them. And yeah. And the main character, I tried watching it, but the main character is so detestable. I could not.
exactly, yeah, yeah, I
I
hate it.
was so happy to have a new Star Trek to watch, but yeah, it was just not possible.
Oh, there's a new one with
Picard, yeah, I'm watching it as it comes out.
Please tell me how is it? Because I've been curious.
It's really good. It suffers from the same malady as other newer shows, where the plot advances like a bit too fast to for my taste. Like
Okay.
things are just but given that the next generation is my favorite, so Captain Picard is my favorite captain of them all. I was very happy that he got his own show, and I must say I'm quite pleased with the show so far. I'm in the middle of season two right now,
Always
and
like
because of whatever reason they're coming with one episodes per week, I cannot binge it. It's killing me.
yeah. I think this new this well we're kind of I wouldn't say I don't want to say the Netflix generation, but we kind of got addicted to the idea of binging a show. Because for example, for me, I'm really looking forward to Peaky Blinders season 6, which finished. But because for some, I don't know which reason, the Netflix in the UK is not the same as Netflix in Romania, sorry. So it will only show starting with June 6th or something like that.
Okay.
But I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. So while I was making my list, as I said, it took me a while to get 10 names. I have a lot of honorable mentions. Um, but to get like 10 names was a bit hard. And also, I don't know if you've noticed, but none of them are recent movies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I
No.
think the most recent in my list is actually Mad Max, the Fury Road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would
That's
say
the most recent.
that was one of the last really well-made movies. I would say. definitely.
And anything after that, it's just a blur. I could not even remember what I've watched in the past. Like I have some in the honorable mentions, like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
Yeah,
bec-
yeah.
but that's an animation, so I didn't put it here. I think we would need a separate podcast for animation.
Because I didn't add cartoons. Well, I did add some cartoons to TV shows, but only the ones where they're too adult to be considered like a kid. I wouldn't let my kid watch them. Let's say.
Yeah, I did prepare a top 10 list of animation movies, but I'm not going to go into it. I think after the honorable mentions, we're just going to go to TV shows because we're already hitting the 2 hour mark.
And we can definitely talk about, and we should definitely talk about animation sometime.
Yeah, I think it deserves its own
Oh yeah,
topic.
definitely.
But in my TV shows, I will mention 2 shows that are actually 3 shows that are animated. No, actually, I'm just going to go with 2, but they're not. They're just like proper TV shows uh,
Mm-hmm.
that just happen to be
Yeah,
enacted by drawn characters.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's fine.
So, in the rapid fire for the honorable mentions, there is Warcraft, the movie. A lot of people hated it. I absolutely love it.
Really?
I really really like it. Yeah, it was
Watched
destroyed
it
by.
as well, but it didn't. Did you like it just because of the nostalgia of the game? You would say, or did you actually like the movie and how it
No,
was?
I liked the movie. I liked what it did graphically. It was a very interesting integration of CGI. I liked the armor design. I know that
I did like the art.
there is some gripe with the fact that the humans are actual actors and they could have just gone full CGI. It would have been amazing because Blizzard is actually really good at making cinematics.
Mm.
But I really like the mix. It is something that I quite enjoyed, as the same way I enjoyed Avatar, like
Okay.
that mix with humans, like proper actors and CGI. I would say John Wick, the entire series.
Oh yes.
Honorable
Oh,
mention. It's so fucking good. Um, Constantine.
yeah.
I really like Constantine. Johnny Mnemonic, which is
Oh,
also
you
with,
remember Johnny Mnemonic?
yeah.
Yes, man. Yeah, that brings me back. Yeah, I
So
love
it's based on a book by one of my favorite authors, William Gibson, which is he's one of the fathers of cyberpunk, uh,
that. Oh,
and it's
okay.
based on one of his books. And Molly, that you see in Johnny Mnemonic, is also a character in Neuromancer, which is his very big trilogy in cyberpunk. He coined the term cyberspace, for instance, and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Mm.
I just loved that movie. It was so interesting, and obviously, um, damn, I forgot his name. The immortal, the main actor
In what?
in Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, it's the same as Constantine. It's Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, yeah,
Yeah,
he played it so well.
John Wick, Constantine, Johnny Mnemonic. There's a theme here. I like Keanu Reeves.
No, he's a really good actor and a
Yeah,
really nice dude as well.
it
Amazing person.
seems like it. Yeah. Actually, the cousin of a friend of mine is works in the movie industry, and they were filming some scenes for the fourth movie. So he worked with him, and he said it's just you hear stories and you think, it's just stories people tell, but actually the guy is quite amazing, and he was helping with the costumes, I think, something like that. So and he would go to the room and bring the costumes and stuff like that, and he said that when he would go after him, everything was like, uh, once he got up, he would tidy the room completely. Like the cleaning lady had nothing to do, and all the clothes were folded and everything. And he was very respectful of other people's time. And he also filmed at the end of filming those scenes they were doing in Paris. He filmed him as they were saying goodbye and stuff like that, and you could see how shy he actually is. He hated having all the attention on him, and he was shyly saying goodbye and trying to hide himself a bit and trying to get out of the frame because he was not acting anymore. He was being himself, and he doesn't feel like he likes being the center of attention. He looks like someone who's actually quite shy in his because the filming was over, so he was in his private life again.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's just one of those people that the internet should protect from now
Yeah.
and
Well, he's one of the internet heroes. Like everybody on the internet would die for him
hmm
and for his dog.
definitely.
And so to keep up with the honorable mentions, I would say Ex Machina.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should watch it. It's definitely a movie to have seen. Braveheart.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I know it's not
So,
historically accurate in
oh
anything,
my
but
God, it's
it's just a very entertaining movie. Let's say.
like the first thing that I noticed that I just hated was the kills. Oh, when I saw the kills, like, what are you doing? It's pro something. Like the kills were invented in the 1700s. Jesus, 500 years later. Oh my God.
And then I have three honorable mentions for gore Japanese movies that I would like to be buried with because I really, really love those movies. Audition, Suicide Circle, and Strange Circus.
Can you?
To anyone listening, watch those movies at your own risk. They're quite violent, and the last one, Strange Circus, is also a bit insidious in the way it's violent, and it might not be for everyone. Like it's I still haven't watched the second time because I'm not sure I can get into that story again. Like it was so fucked, but I loved it. Like from the bottom of my heart, I really love that movie, and the Japanese are really good with that kind of movies. And the last honorable mention would be the City of Lost Children.
Hmm.
Have you heard of it?
No, no.
So I've seen that movie very late compared to when I was aware that it existed. But when I was a kid, a friend of mine had the game on PlayStation, on the first PlayStation. So that's how I got acquainted to the universe, which is a very fucked universe. But it is a very interesting movie. The image is also like the picture is very good. It's an all-round very good movie to have seen, and if I'm not mistaken, it has Ron Perlman. Yeah, it has Ron Perlman in it, and I really like Ron Perlman.
Like what I noticed is I love. It's very difficult for me to separate my love for the acting of certain people and how they behave out of the acting world. Like
Never
Ron
heard of
Perlman,
anything. I don't know what he do, and I don't know what he does, but yeah, I don't want to know.
he's a fucking asshole, lib, like just an idiot, has no understanding of politics whatsoever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah,
But he
uh,
has gravitas.
yeah, he does that. He does. But other than that, but again, for example, in Hellboy, I loved him. He
Yeah,
played
is.
beautifully.
I like him as well in Mutant Chronicles, which is it's not a big movie. It's like a small budget movie that was made based on a role playing game, Mutant Chronicles, and he plays a monk in it, like a very beef monk. And the movie is interesting.
Okay. Was I wanted to mention as well, Normal mention. I just remembered it was a movie that I saw when I was a child again. Not it. It was. It's presented again in that TV series that I told you on Netflix.
Hmm.
It's called. It's in Portuguese, which I just find like one of the weirdest languages ever. I know a lot of people love the language. For me, and I don't mean no disrespect because when it's sung, I think it's one of the most beautiful languages I've ever heard. When it's spoken, I feel it's like pig Latin. That's how it sounds to me.
Is it maybe because the songs you might have heard might be Brazilian and not Portuguese, like Brazilian Portuguese and not Portugal Portuguese.
Well, well, they're different dialects, but then again, it's the same language. So
Yeah, but I don't know. Not that I have a preference one over the other. I grew up listening to Portuguese because one of my closest friends is Portuguese, and a lot of people in Geneva are from Portugal. So it's a language I grew up hearing. So maybe that's why it's not that odd to me.
hmm. To be honest, I'm not very familiar with Portuguese, more with Brazilian Portuguese.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm more familiar with
Because
that.
of Marimar.
Of course, yes. Marimar was Mexican, wasn't it?
I don't know. For
No,
why do I remember it as being Brazilian?
no, it was Mexican. Trust me, because main
Marimar.
actor was Natalia Oreiro.
Oh yeah, it's Mexican. Yeah, right. It's a
Yeah,
telenovela.
yes, yes, I do remember her, and I loved her.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
She
Um,
might have been one of my first crushes.
it was my second crush. The first being obviously Sailor Moon, of course.
I'm going to show you a picture of
From the Sailor Moon. Oh,
no for
now it is.
from Marimar. I don't know if you remember that one. Uh, this one.
Okay. Let me see. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. For the people listening, it's not porn. Calm
It
down.
is not, but it's like the closest thing to like the most beautiful. Oh,
Just Google Marimar and you will. I'm pretty sure you can guess what picture we're talking about.
yeah.
It just there is something to that picture. Maybe the memories of childhood or something that makes it that it speaks to me, and I think it speaks to you as well, Alex.
Not even that. She's just like so beautiful. She's like Aphrodite. It was just a different level of beauty that I saw when I was a child. Because obviously, being Romanian and stuff, we do have a lot of beautiful women around here. But she was like the first one who was just exotic and oily skin and that hair as well.
She
Just
was greasy. That woman was greasy.
she was just from
I'm going to add the opening of Marimar right to the soundtrack.
you have to, yeah.
Yeah, since we're on it right now.
Marina,
This
na,
minute.
na, na, Marina. Yeah, that's the one.
Is it this one? Let me listen real quick. Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I've added it to the soundtrack. Uh, oh god, the memories.
Yeah,
Um, oh, actually, that's maybe a good point in time to switch to TV shows since
yeah,
we're
yeah. This is really this is I would say maybe even harder than the movies, just because. And I told you this several times. We now live for like the last decade at least in the golden age of television. So I would say the best TV shows that were ever made are made in this time. Um, and there are just so many, and they're so well made that it's very, very difficult to have a top 10.
yeah. To be honest, I have a top 10 that is not a real top 10. It's just like I was writing so fast. It's just the first 10 names that came out, and then everything blended into the honorable mentions because I couldn't stop. Um, I'm yeah that I had a hard time with movies, but for the TV shows, as you say, it's there's so much more, and they explore themes more deeply. There is more time to tell a story and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I would say the first ones would be, I would say, the best ones from the 90s, and you just can't compare them. Would be first is Married with Children. You remember I told you about it the
yeah.
last.
I'm going to watch it. I've watched a guy going over all the seasons. Just talking about the general themes, not going into detail and stuff like that. And from the excerpts I've seen, it looks like I will enjoy that show.
Like it's the type of show where um, a moderate feminist watching it today would flip.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, fair enough. Maybe if the the nice, but it's pretty.
Well, it has some takes, but again, you cannot take them out of context. You need to from what I've seen, when you have the context, you can see what the guy is, what he represents, and also what his love life is, and there is a lot to be said about his situation. Not that not that it excuses his behavior, but it gives a like it's a street that goes both ways. Like you need to be also understanding of the global scope of what is being told.
Yeah, but the thing that I really appreciated was, uh, if you research it, you'll find out. But even back then, when it was shown, and this was back in the early '90s, even back then, there were a lot of feminist organizations that were against it. That were rioting, even well, not rioting, protesting before the studios and all that. So they wanted it cancelled because it did have very very many misogynist jokes, usually misogynist jokes.
I don't know if there are that many. I just know about the story of the woman who complained about one episode and ended up making the ratings go through the roof. But yeah, I could see why some movements would be against it, especially with one. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but he starts a movement at some point in the show,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, and I can see why that would
no man.
rustle some feathers.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the weird thing about it is that, and this is why deep down I really miss the '90s, is that people had most people had common sense. So people knew that when you were watching this type of show, you knew that it was not okay to behave like that in real life. And the only reason why you were laughing so hard at it is because it was just so outrageous, and you would know no one would actually do that in real life. So
Yeah, no one is like that. It's a parody of all the worst sides, and it's a sitcom. That's the point. Like exaggerate
yeah,
those
that's the whole
traits
point. Yeah, and
for
everyone knew it.
the
And
sake of comedy, not because you're trying to send a message to people.
yeah,
Because
there was
clearly they
no
were not doing that.
yeah, there was no politics involved. It was just look, it's just fun, and let's come up with the most outrageous jokes we can make.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, Fox just started as a network. They need a show. They can't really say no to us. So let's just go and have."
And have fun. Yeah. And the weird thing was that from what I've read, the cast apparently had so much fun filming it that they would have to take a lot of takes, a lot of doubles, just because they would burst out laughing in the middle of the sentence because
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that happening.
like because some of the jokes were just like oh my god. And it was funny because I really loved the show because when I was a kid I was used to watch it with my family. And Peggy would back in the day. You remember the hairstyle? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Hmm.
So I would make fun of my stepmom because she would also be like tall as her and had would be like a redhead and have a similar head, and we would just
Would
burst
she
out
have those rolls in the hair with those big ass hair dryers at home? My
laughing.
mom had like now you
Something like
it doesn't exist anymore. I think not even salons have them anymore. But you would put it's like a helmet you would put your head in, and
yeah, yeah. No,
so that would they would have those curls because of that. And
she wouldn't have that, but she would have the other thing where you would have like these rolling things.
Mhm.
They that would look like
Yeah, bigoudi.
cylinders. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly as in Romanian. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So she would
What
have that.
it's a very odd name. I wonder where it comes from. Bigoudi.
Yeah, in Romanian it's bigutiu, biguti.
Hmm.
Weird. Um, so yeah, that was the first, and you would just laugh at every episode. It was just that funny, and obviously I didn't get all the references.
Oh, sorry. Go on. I'll.
No, please, where's it from? Uh,
Oh, okay. So it comes from a bigoteur or bigotel. It's a French word, and it's something that was actually used for mustaches to roll mustaches.
Huh.
It originally it is a guy thing.
The same as what do you call it? High heels. I don't know if you know that.
Maybe not high heels. Heels, yes. High heels, I don't think so.
Yeah, heels in general.
Yeah,
Heels in general were invented for men so that they could use them for horse riding, and then women stole them from
came
us.
and took our jobs.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely that would be Married with Children would be the first one in the
Hmm.
top ten, just because we would watch it with the family and laugh our asses off. The second one would be Seinfeld, and we
Yeah.
previously,
Hmm.
and this is because as I mentioned before, it just shaped my way of viewing fun in the
Yeah.
world, viewing what is fun, what is interesting, what is funny, and it wasn't a show that was extremely easy to understand, let's say, because it had a lot of nuances and sarcastic at some point. So let's put it this way: if you were
Yeah,
dubbing it,
sarcasm was, and the thing is that Seinfeld has a way of delivering sarcasm that is,
oh yeah,
because he has a straight face. Like you're like, no, that's sarcasm. Okay, but his face doesn't change. Like you wouldn't be able to tell that he's being sarcastic, or he's being over the top with the sarcasm and stuff like that. And but the thing is that what I liked is that it's not just him. Like everybody shoots at everybody with live rounds.
yeah, and not only that, but I would say it was such an amazing cast as a whole, where you had a very like people who didn't show up in every episode, for example, or showed up like I don't know 2 3 times.
You're an anti-dentite.
I don't remember what that one.
It's the one with the dentist, with Carson, the one from Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one. The one that really stood out for me was the name that ended in MAN. It was Elaine's boss several times.
Oh,
His way of talking.
ah, oh,
Pinkerman, no, Pinkerman. Um, let me see.
oh my God! I'm going to look it up. Yeah, because
It was
Elaine
Peterman. Yeah,
Peterman.
JP
Yeah,
Peterman catalog. Yeah, it was just fascinating the way he spoke. Like he had, his own
his name is actually Jacopo, Jacopo Peterman.
shit. Okay, well, yeah. Well,
I think it's never said in the show. It's just J. Peterman.
exactly. Yeah. I worked for JP. Yeah, I remember that. And it was just amazing the way he portrayed that character. And that was I think that was the beauty of the show itself, that absolutely every character in the show was just something out of out of not normal in real life that you would see,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
Duke Nazi, for example, or
Oh, the soup Nazi is so good. No
the
bread for you. No
no,
soup.
like the cab driver Babu, where he said no, like he
No,
would
no,
use his
no, with
finger.
the finger waggling. Yeah, I really like Babu. Babu.
Yeah, me as well. He was so, and and a few of them actually went on to become pretty big actually in animation. You remember Elaine had a boyfriend, the one who had
Yeah,
like
the football fan.
football, yeah, the football fan. He actually portrays the wheelchair guy in Family Guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's him.
That's why the voice was so familiar.
Yeah, that's him. That's him right there.
Right. Everything makes sense now.
Yeah, he starred in a few others as well, but I don't remember. But yeah, he went on to do that, and obviously, of course, Kramer for me was like the
Yeah, Kramer
best.
was like he was so good. Like, but he was the only actual proper actor. I think no, Jason Alexander was also an actor,
Yeah,
but he was like laughing all the time. Like, have you? have you seen the reshoots and stuff like that because they were laughing?
The bloopers.
And
Yeah,
Kramer was actually the only guy not laughing. He's the only guy being serious on set. And you're like, how is that? How can that serious guy be the funniest like comedic relief in the show?
yeah, that's really weird. And the what I really loved is the stories because it was really a show about nothing in the sense that they just came up with these outrageous stories. Like, for example, I remember one where Kramer would tell Jerry that he was with his girlfriend, and because he didn't cut his toenails, at one point after sex, he rolled over in bed over his girlfriend, and he cut his girlfriend's ankle with his big toe. And I was like, Jesus, fuck! How can he?
Well,
That's
then
amazing.
again, I cut myself with my nails. Not as often as I used to, but I have very hard nails. They don't break, so if I don't cut them, they will never break. Like I never broken a nail, and I used to let them long for style, and so yeah, I could see that because I would cut myself.
Jesus, that's so weird.
So this wasn't so out of this world to me. Like I could see that.
Yeah, but there's one thing is to just cut yourself just a bit, but actually cutting your girlfriend's Achilles heel.
Yeah, not severing. I didn't sever anything. I was just like
Yeah, that's what I
scratching
mean.
myself.
It was
But
so
yeah,
over the top that you wouldn't believe. Oh, and you remember George's boss from
which
the
one?
the one who never showed his face,
Oh, the one that was voiced by oh the fucking guy who made the show.
Larry David.
Yeah, Larry David. He's the one voicing it, and oh, the acting is actually really good. Like
Yeah,
the gestures from the back and the collated with that voice, it just creates something surreal that really works.
I loved it. Yeah, so
Is this a
that's
calzone? I like calzones.
yeah, I remember that one.
What would I think about next?
Yeah, that was really good. As I said, everyone in the show was amazing, and of course, I remember his name, Ben Stiller's dad, who played Costanza's father.
Jerry Stiller.
Jerry Stiller, yeah, he was so funny, and then it obviously rubbed off on his son
Yeah.
afterwards. So yeah, I would say Seinfeld would be. There's a lot to talk about Seinfeld, but we'll go to the next because obviously, as I said, there's
Mhm.
so many TV shows. I even another 10 list of just honorable mentions because there's so. So I would say the next one would be. I'm not sure if you watched it because it's more like something that I'm into just because of the historical accuracy because that's
Mhm.
my thing. Band of Brothers slash The Pacific because they're kind of part of the same deal. Um, so that is it was a show.
Band
Um,
of Brothers and the other, the Pacific. What was it?
The Pacific. So you have Band of Brothers and the Pacific. Both are kind of the same, different parts of the same coin.
Oh, okay, okay. Mhm.
So Band of Brothers talks about the war in Europe during the
Mhm.
Second World War, and the Pacific about
So the theater, I guess, in the
yeah,
Pacific.
the Pacific Theater exactly. And it's very very accurate historically speaking, but also regarding how it was actually like during the war, and you have the actual people that were played talking, having interviews at the start of each episode, and talking about what happened and a lot of details that are shown in the series. And the really weird thing about it was that it was so well portrayed that, and also very historically accurate because it was researched afterwards because they wanted to fact check it, that the actual actions that happened there were very, how should I put it? You wouldn't believe them if you didn't know for sure that they were true.
Okay.
They would be very hard to believe. Like you had, for example, at one point or something, who had to give a warning to another squad halfway around the battlefield. And in order to get there, he took a shortcut by just going through the enemy lines, just right in front of them. and just going there and then coming back on the same pathway, and he lived. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's I can believe it. Like imagine, two parties shooting at each other, and one is just running towards the enemy, going behind their back, not killing anyone, going to their squad mates, telling them what's up, and then coming back and still living. It was amazing.
Okay.
But also, of course, all the other uh, parts of it, like for example, you had native Germans living in America who were kind of semi-forced, let's say, to go back to Germany and actually be in the Nazi army and had to fight their fellow Americans. That was one of them, and also, of course, in the Pacific, the psychological toll that it took on the soldiers, and obviously you kind of see a resemblance to the Vietnam War, where you can see like the ferocity of the Japanese soldiers, and how well they fought, and actually how much Americans really respected them, contrary to people who are revisionists of history and try to portray Americans like this evil empire and everything. They really had a lot of respect for each other because the Japanese were extremely tough, and they would dash out and have like the banzai cry, where they would give their life in large numbers, and they just wouldn't care. And it was very shocking to normal class Americans who would value life and can imagine people doing that. So it was very interesting. And obviously the PTSD, where you can actually see how it was represented and why it came to there, and people committing suicide in the armies. And you get a much better sense of war, and you understand why we should avoid it at all cost, and how destructive it can be.
You get a better feel of the cost, the actual cost of war, I would
Yeah,
say.
exactly. Yeah. From all perspectives, from a psychological point of view, for the people involved and for the civilians, but also materially speaking and money wise, and you kind of understand that people who actually make war are just extremely few powerful people around the world who are trying just to benefit, either politically or monetarily, from just selling guns.
Hmm.
But usually, most people just avoid it at all costs, just because kind of all of them understand how costly it is. So the next one I would say, and this is part of how we discussed earlier, that it's an animated show, but due to its complexity, I doubt that if I would have watched it when I was 12 years old or 14, I would have understand it. It would be Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
you watched it? I remember.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm on top of that. This is at first I said I had three, and then I said I would just put two. Rick and Morty is the one I removed from the list. That I wanted to leave for the let's say the animation episode.
Yeah, I would have left it as well. It's just that I'm thinking, okay, in my mind, a cartoon would be like Count Chicken or Dexter's Laboratory or SWAT Cats or that sort of thing. So Rick and Morty is just kind of on a different level, where I would say it's part of a new trend, and maybe it was at the forefront of a trend that I noticed on the internet, which is there's a lot of what do we call it, censorship going around, especially in the West, unfortunately,
Hmm.
where you aren't allowed to show all sorts of things. And we discussed this on previous episodes with the video games industry, where you have Red Dead Redemption 2, and you can't portray, going to whorehouses, which I'm still very distraught about.
Yeah, it seems that it has annoyed you.
Oh, my horse, goddammit, Anyway, so. So what happens is, obviously, as Milton, well, I'm not sure if Milton Friedman put it, but someone said that the market always finds a way, and that's true. So what happens is there's an ever onward going trend where uh, cartoon shows are becoming more like what TV shows would be if they were allowed to act more freely.
Yeah.
So so
So
you put the violence and everything in, and the maturity in those cartoon shows. So Rick and Morty
yeah,
was
I want to stop you there because this is exactly one of the points that I would like to address when we're going to talk about animation. So
okay.
if you don't mind, let's just keep it for that episode. So, but I completely agree with the sentiments, and I was also going to make that point or go in that direction.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, Rick and Morty, as I said, it's just a beautiful, beautifully made and very, very thought out show where I don't know if you watched. There were very small details there. For example, you notice that they approach almost every major scientific theory in the show. Uh,
What I do, like Rick and Morty is the kind of show that I watch entirely, and after watching episodes, I watch people breaking it down on YouTube
mhm.
because I am not capable on my own to catch everything. There's too much going on, and there's some um, cinematography codes and some ways of reading episodes that I don't have the keys for. So I like watching people talking about those episodes,
I do
and
that as
yeah.
well. Yeah, I do that as well. And
I don't do it for every show, but Rick and Morty is one of those shows where there are a lot of
I have
theories and stuff like that. I would never have come up. I would have never figured out on my own.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. So I watched that as well. Some I can figure out, some I need more guidance. But yeah, you definitely need some help with that because you can't figure out on your own. They're
Hmm.
too complex. So yeah, basically they try to approach every scientific theory known to man and kind of made it so that everything is possible, but in a very realistic way. And one tiny detail that I noticed is that in the garage, in Rick's garage, there's a box there that says time travel,
Hmm.
and there's a reason why it's in a box because it's the only theory which is not capable of being made even at a theoretical level when thinking about traveling to the past, because you have the paradox of if you travel to the past and you kill your grandfather, how are you able to travel to the past and kill your grandfather?
Well, there are different theories on how that goes.
Either way, it's considered such a complicated theory and generally speaking, not feasible. However, you can travel to the future. That's something that it is considered possible, and they even touch on this subject with the episode with the snakes, if you remember, with the
Yeah,
snakes.
right. Hmm.
Yeah, so they
With
kind
the
of
snake
explain
jets.
why. Yeah, oh my god, I found it so
I
so
just love
funny.
snake music.
Snake Jazz is the best, and also human music was not
Yeah,
bad
the
as
human
well.
music is also very nice.
And the way they approach the entire show is just amazing because they use all these generic catchphrases and they just make fun of them basically um, during the entire show. But my favorite episode, I would say, would be the one with Evil Morty when he the
Yeah,
one
and that song.
and the song. Man,
Uh-huh.
it's a good song.
That song is so fucking good.
Yeah, and I can listen to that for hours, and it's
Hmm.
just amazing. Yeah, generally speaking, I just love the show, even though it's so complex that at one point they kind of fumbled it. But it's I give them a pass just because they actually stayed true to like each season in the sense that everything that happened previously has a consequence in the next season. So I respected that. The next would be actually be a show that I convinced my parents when I was in on holiday that I came back from. That I convinced my parents of watching, and they actually watched it. They actually finished it in our last day together. We were all watching it, which is Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
So I really appreciated this movie um, from an artistic point of view, in the sense that I think it was the best TV series where you could see the transformation of a character from being a certain way to being completely opposite, whilst being extremely relevant at the same time. So you have in a lot of shows or movies where, I don't know, you have either the bad guy turning into a good guy or the good guy turning into a bad guy. Well, rarely the latter. But this in this show, it's made so well and it makes sense that you actually end up hating the main character while at the same time emphasizing with him, and that's like very rare
Hmm.
for me. And the transformation of Walter White from this uh, kind of gullible, father who finds out he has cancer, to like this huge drug kingpin who is actually way over his head, but at the same time extremely smart and coming up with ways to overcome the difficulties, while at the same
Until the point where he stops faking it because he made it. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's where I remember. Well, I'm not sure if we should say it's just spoiled for people who haven't watched it yet, but there's
Oh,
one
if they
point.
haven't watched it, it's their fault. Breaking Bad, I'm sorry, but yeah,
So there's one point at the end where he tells his wife, because he always tells like this generic line that is said by basically maybe any bad guy in history, where everything I did for my family, and
yeah, exactly.
all bullshit. And at the very end, he actually says it, no, I did it for me. And I was like, oh man, that is so true. Good for you that you said that. But for how everything turned out. But I really appreciated the level of honesty that he had,
Hmm.
and I was very struck by how that evil inside him grew and grew, and he kept it from the audience in such an artistic way, while at the end he just let it all out, and you could see who he really was, and you can see the not only the darkness in him, but also the gray nuances, let's say, because he was also a good guy. At the end, he saved Jesse by sacrificing himself and all that. So I really loved the way it ended. And this, as a note to Seinfeld as well, I think out of, and also with Band of Brothers, but that's history, so obviously it
Hmm.
had to end historically. I would say Seinfeld and Breaking Bad, out of all of them, out of all of the shows that I'm going to mention, maybe also one, but that's here and there. They're the only shows that finished on a high note. So
They didn't drag it too long. You
didn't
mean?
drag it along.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, actually, Jerry was asked even recently, a few years back, why didn't he continue? Because he continued, and him and the other cast continued making millions after the show ended, just because people kept watching it. So he asked, why not do a rerun, or why didn't you prolong it? And he said, no, it had to end there because we were on the rise, and he didn't want to end up like most TV shows.
Where like, yeah, the last season wasn't all that, and or where people start saying that.
Yeah, whereas, for example, for Seinfeld, like the last episode of the last season, I found it amazing. And it was even more amazing the fact that it ended with the same joke that it actually first
Yeah,
started. Yeah, I found that truly amazing. It was beautiful. And with Breaking Bad,
I
even
don't
though,
remember. Was it a salsa joke?
no, it was a button joke. They were in prison
Yeah,
because
they
of,
were in prison. That I remember.
yeah, and Jerry was looking at George's shirt, and he was saying that the top button was not right. It should have been a bit lower.
Hmm.
And he says, well, the top button is really the button that makes or breaks the shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Best joke that they ever made on the show. So it was a very nice way of ending it. So I found that beautiful. And with Breaking Bad, even though there was, I think, one season where they kind of dragged it, but it sort of made sense from a logistical point of view, where they had to, have all these different synopses where, yeah, okay, it kind of made sense, but it was kind of boring at the same time. The end was very beautiful, and the actual song at the end, I really loved it and appreciated, where he actually went. You remember he died in the lab, where Jesse was cooking meth, and he was kind of reminiscing of his big creation, and he died on the tune of "Baby Blue." My baby blue, it was a
I don't remember. For some reason, it didn't mark me. The song I really remember from Breaking Bad, aside from the opening, and which is I think one of my favorite songs in any shows ever is Negro y Azul.
mm-hmm.
I think it's at the start of season 3 or 4. I don't remember, where you have that Mexican band, uh, Los Cuares de something, Los Cuares de something, and I really like that song. It's so good.
Yeah, I remember it was really good. I loved it as well. Yeah, but I don't remember. It was not like a really famous song, but I liked that they found a song where he was dying and reminiscing of his creation, which was blue
Yeah.
methamphetamine, and the song was called "My Baby Blue." So
Yeah.
I just like that reference. Yeah, the next one is also a historical movie, but I liked it because a lot of the actors actually became very famous due to this movie, and it was
Movie or show?
this show, sorry,
Hmm.
and it was the first representation of a very extremely interesting time in history, which was never depicted in a TV show. It was Roma. It was about, if you remember, there were only two seasons. It was Rome, basically.
Ah, Rome. Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, so no
Oh,
spoilers because that's on my list. This one I definitely won't
you haven't
watch.
watched it?
No, not yet. But
Oh,
it's on my to watch list.
you'll love it because it's very historically accurate. Like to,
Are we talking Republic or are we talking Empire? It's Empire, right? It's the decadence of Rome.
no, we're talking Caesar and Octavian.
Okay, so the
So
beginning of the
the,
Empire then.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the rise and fall of Caesar and the rise of Octavian,
Okay.
and that's where it ends. Unfortunately, it should have continued. It's one of the few TV shows that everyone was like, "Oh my god, you definitely have to continue it because it was
Yeah,
very."
I've seen trailers and stuff like that. I really like the picture. Like it looks. For some reason, it spoke to me. Like I haven't watched, as I said, I haven't watched the show, but from what I've seen of the show, I'm going to like just looking at it on a aesthetic kind of point of view.
The really interesting thing about it was that it was, as I said, it's historical accuracy to a degree that I didn't even imagine, where they would even portray correct and realistic graffiti on the walls of Rome,
Just like
which
in the
was
life of Brian.
I haven't watched that movie, but I think
No, it's a joke. Like uh, so in that movie, at some point, he's hanging out with dissidents that are against the Roman Empire. Like he
okay.
gets dragged into stupid things all the time. You know what the movie is, right?
No, not really.
Oh, it's you know the Monty Python.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a parody of the life of Jesus,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's a guy who becomes a messiah by being at the wrong place at the wrong time all the time and stuff like that. So he doesn't want to, and he keeps shooing people away, and they take it as gospel and stuff like that. So, and at some point, he's writing on a wall with those guys. Or he's left with the paint bucket and brush, and the guard comes and I mean
I remember that. I saw a video with that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they correct his Latin, and that was I really like this scene, like a lot of the scenes of that movie. Oh, I can't believe I haven't put any Monty Python in the movies actually, because I like a lot of them. Anyways, yeah.
I haven't
So
seen a lot of them, but yeah, I do remember that particular part. Yeah, it was funny. But yeah, in Rome, it's very well portrayed because it kind of talks generally, and not giving spoilers. It generally talks about the lives of two soldiers in Julius Caesar's army, and it's actually historically correct because they're, if not the only two, or one of the few, some of the few soldiers that Julius Caesar actually talked about in his diary. So they actually commemorated in history. They were that good soldiers. So yeah, he talks about them, and portrays what happens, and you can even see the ancestors of what would become the mafia in Italy, and you kind of understand how they had the how should I put it, where they came up with the system or the idea even of kind of a mafia.
I would not have thought it was that old.
It was it's a reference, and that's something that I it's very hard to clarify historically speaking, obviously,
Hmm.
because you're talking about the underground organization.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways, and it's a reference also to The Godfather, where in Godfather 2, there's a scene where they talk about the birth of the mafia and how they took the way it was organized from the way the Roman military was organized.
Okay.
So kind of makes sense in a way, but it's not proven. But either way, it's very nice the way they say everything. So yeah, you should definitely watch that, and obviously, of course, the way Caesar. I think the guy who played Caesar is the best Caesar you'll ever see in any movie. Mark Anthony and Octavian as well. I can't imagine other people portraying them as better as they have.
Okay.
So the next one is I'm not sure if you noticed, but it had a huge impact on me when I was a kid, and it was Oz Federal Prison.
Never heard of it.
So it was
Oz as in OZ.
OZ, yeah. So it was the first show that ever portrayed life in prison as a show, but with all its brutality. So it was the first show that I've ever seen where it portrayed such brutal scenes and scenes of men raping other men and the illegal activities happening in prisons and how corrupt the guards were and all of that. And I actually did some digging, some research, and uh, I have a friend of the family actually who works in the federal penitentiary system, and he actually did tell me that a lot of those things actually happen in terms of corruption, where guards are actually corrupted into bringing drugs into the prison and actually getting involved in illegal activities there, whether by choice or they're being blackmailed or whatever. So it's very interesting, and it's one of the most brutal TV shows I've ever seen. And it's also portrayed, of course, as being very grim and dark, but it's very interesting. And again, a lot of actors there had their start there. So, for example, do you remember the guy from the Matrix movies, the one with the dreadlocks, like
Yeah.
the guy that really liked it was just like a likable character.
The guy who had a wife who was pregnant or something like that.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
had like the chain thing.
I cannot remember his name, but yeah, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah, exactly, with the trinket.
yeah. So he started in this show,
Okay.
made his mark, and a lot of other people as well.
I think I know him from. He was in the thing on the island. Lost.
Yeah, so that would be a very good one.
Hmm.
Of course, obviously the next is one where I would say the best soundtrack I've ever heard in a TV show would be Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
And this is just a show where I loved the way the actors, but especially the main actor, portrayed the main character, of course. Uh, sorry, uh, because it portrayed him in such a hmm, like you never know what he's thinking, but at the same time you could empathize with him and also root for him while he's destroying his family. It's such a weird. I've never felt this way for any main character before, where it's kind of you're in awe, but also you kind of hate him, but also you kind of admire him. And funny enough, it's exactly the same feeling that you can see from the rest of the cast, as in the rest of his family, towards him.
Hmm.
And that's something that I've kind of never seen before. It's very very well made. But as I said, the main thing about it is the perfect soundtrack that it has, in the sense that I don't know, the sound guys just made it that the perfect sound at the perfect time at the right place was there. So it was really really well made, and I would recommend watching it. The next is it's not a TV series per se, but it's such a landmark in TV shows in general that I just had to put it, which is Chappelle's Show, because
Yes. Oh, yeah.
like the ridiculousness, and it
And
really showed his
also how crude it was allowed to be.
yeah, it really showed his genius in comedy. You could really see it shine there, where you had like the it was like the he was a milkman back in the 50s, and when he was going to a white family named the Nigger family, and but like with an R, and he just used to make fun of them,
Yeah.
just used to emphasize the word
With
over
the
and over.
milk delivery guy.
Yeah, and he was just at the end they would just laugh, and he just said this one thing that made the entire skit work, which was after laughing about the word and everything, he just said, "Oh, this racism is just tearing me up inside," and he was just like so funny. And obviously with Bigsby, the black white supremacist, remember?
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah. With the leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, because he
The
was
Yeah.
blind and he didn't know he was black, and I
He
just
he
found that
he
so.
left. When we asked him why he left his wife, he said because she was married to a nigger. Oh, that.
Oh my God, that killed me when when I heard that. It was just so hilarious. I couldn't believe the amount of things that he was allowed to do, of course. But little known fact, he said this in a stand-up of his, was that he wasn't allowed to say anything about gay people.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and he speaks about it, but
in
yeah.
his stand-up, and I found that wow, I didn't know that, and that's so weird. Like, really, you're gonna let him talk about black people in that way, and not about gay people? I mean, come on, if you're gonna make fun of everyone. But a special character that I wasn't expecting in the TV show was Charlie Murphy and his stories.
Yeah.
I found that amazing.
Charlie, my man. The darkness.
Yeah.
Oh, the darkness.
It was so good. And the weird thing was that it was real. The stories that he portrayed were actually real. It turned out to be true. Everything he said, I found that amazing. And the last show, um, and again, this is just some of many, many shows. Obviously, the first two, Married with Children, Seinfeld, those had to be on any list. But last show, I would say, was the first well-made prototype, well, not really prototype, but the first of its kind that brought in the era of this golden age of television, where it portrayed, it was a very somber drama TV show, but extremely intelligent and very, very well thought out and well made. And it touched on the brilliance of today's TV shows, where you have like an emotional impact, and you grow with the characters, and it takes a psychological toll on the characters, and you can actually see it in their actions and the way they talk or in the way they think. And that was Mad Men.
Yeah, it's in my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah, I
That,
found
that I really really like that show, and yeah, Don Draper is he's the man.
yeah, he's the man, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be that man. That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's the epitome of how toxic it can be to be a man like that to a man's psyche, and
Exactly. That's why in the end, he goes on that. I found the end a bit anticlimactic, but I understood,
Mhm.
especially during the time period, because this is another thing that I really enjoyed was the how correct they were from a time period perspective. You know, with everything
Yeah,
that
the real disappointment is when you see the actual guy Don Draper is based on, the one who made that Coca-Cola commercial.
Oh yeah.
He looks nothing. He doesn't have the swell or anything. Like he doesn't. Yeah, I mean John Hamm is just he good looking.
Well, not only good looking, he boy is well packed. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I really like him in Baby Driver as well. I like how he plays his character in Baby Driver.
But one thing that you didn't know about him was that before he was an actor in Mad Men, he was a director of porn movies.
I am not sure that's true.
I think so.
I don't think so. He was struggling in Hollywood. Like it took forever for him to get a proper
Well,
job.
let's see. Then.
But I wouldn't go as far as saying that he was in porn.
What's his name?
John Hamm.
John. Well, let's see then. Well, what I also know at least is that he's so well packed that in most of the shots that that he's in, it's from waist up.
From
So
what?
he has a big dick, dude. So they don't want to
Ah,
do that. So they only film him from the waist up.
ha.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'm not sure if that's related to why I knew that he.
that's something I have to check now.
I hope everything I'm saying is actually true because these are also things that I've read about or watched in different movies. So if I'm mistaken, I do apologize.
We need a fact checker for this.
Yeah, we need a Jamie as
Yeah,
your.
we need a fact checker definitely.
But
Yeah, and okay, so I'll go over mine quick
oh,
because we're
found it.
yeah.
I'm continue working as a waiter and briefly as a set designer for a softcore pornography movie.
Set designer, yeah, that's not the same thing.
That is true. That is true. But he worked in porno, so I got that true. So you know.
Mhm. Okay, so for me, the first ones are also like they're not randomly put there. The first few ones, uh, my favorite show of all time, like hands down, and nothing come close to it, is X Files.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
X Files is it fed my imagination for during my entire childhood, and it will always remain one of the best show ever made, in my opinion. Don't at me. It's just a fact of life. It's just really good, and it was tackling some, the unresolved stories and stuff like it was just a blend of a lot of things. I really like the characters. Don't talk to me about the last movie, especially because that was bullshit, where they introduced the romance between the two characters, which should
Yeah,
never have happened.
exactly.
I am
Yeah,
still mad because of this, and I think I will be mad until I die. This,
I get
yeah,
it.
this was. I took it personally. I think a lot of people took it personally as well.
Yeah, yeah, because I watched it as well when I was a kid and I loved it. It's just um, not that I didn't get into it. It's just it was kind of a bit too complicated for me, so I just didn't. I
I
didn't.
was as a kid. I was in it just for the scares. Like it was really creepy. It was a
Oh yeah,
very creepy show, and to this
yeah,
day, some episodes are still like frightening. And
yeah.
just quickly, I would like to put an honorable mention because we're on with David Duchovny for Californication, that I
Definitely
absolutely love,
beautiful.
and for Gillian Anderson, I would like to put American Gods because she plays
She played in
media.
that.
Huh?
She played in that. I only saw the first season of
Yeah,
American Gods.
she's in the first. She's media, the one on the TV, and
Oh shit! Yeah, I remember
that's
now.
her.
Yeah, yeah.
That woman
Okay.
is gorgeous. She was my first TV love, not crush, but like proper. I was in love with that woman, and she, Yeah, she's a gorgeous woman, and she's a good actress as well. Like her demeanor and everything. I just like that person. Um, then the second show would be Firefly. I don't know if you've watched it.
Firefly. No.
It's a western in space. It's a bit like Cowboy Bebop with
Oh,
Nathan Fillion and
okay. Nathan Fillion. Okay.
oh my god, I cannot. What? It has jewels in it, and it has. Oh, I hate myself. What's the name of that one? She's one of the most. Gina Torres. Have you seen Suits?
Yep.
She's the boss woman. She's in Firefly.
The boss, the black boss woman.
Yeah,
Oh shit! Do you know that's actually Lawrence Fishburne's wife?
I I did not know that. Good for him.
Right.
Damn.
Well, on
She
the one
she is
side,
just absolutely gorgeous. Like
she's beautiful.
yeah, and her acting, like when you see her in Suits and you see her in Firefly, it's not the same, kind of character, but she has a presence that is unbelievable.
Huh.
And yeah, there is Jewel States that I really like, and Alan Tudyk is also in Firefly.
Okay.
You know Alan Tudyk?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Have you seen Rogue One?
Yep.
He's the one voicing the robots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's very good at like his sense of humor is very good. His delivery, I would say rather, is really good. I really like that guy. And yeah, in the show he's actually Gina Torres's husband. And he's always jealous and feels left out. He's the pilot, and he's really good at what he does. But, anyways, the TV show is excellent, and the movie is also really good. Then in third, Scrubs. I really love
Oh my
Scrubs.
god, I forgot to add Scrubs. Yeah, 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 I should definitely have added Scrubs.
Yeah,
So
I,
influential to me.
I just like the fact that it has this cycle of like two or three like happy, funny, silly episodes, and then someone dies in a
Yeah,
miserable way, and all the joy is sucked out of you, and that
yeah,
emotional roller coaster just goes on and on and on, and it's just. And I love the chemistry between the characters. All of them are quite well written, and they seem to all like somehow enjoy being there. I know that there was some issues on set and stuff like that, but all in all, they they really fit. It's a cast that really fits well together. I really like the show.
me as well. What I really enjoyed about it. Well, first off, who is your favorite character on the show?
Uh, it's all of them. Like there is not a character I like more than the others, and there is not a character I like less than the others. They all have their role, and they all have a reason to be there, and they're all extremely funny. Um, obviously I like Cox.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
of course.
that didn't come out right. I just heard myself. I'm talking about Dr. Cox, not Dix. And I like JD. I like Turk Turkleton. I like the bromance between the two. It's
Yeah,
just so
it's
good.
really
Like Eagle. And yeah, I like Elliot. I like. I'm going to hate myself for not remembering her name. Turk's wife, the nurse.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Um,
My favorite character, I would say, is the
I
janitor.
was about to say, yeah, the janitor. Obviously,
My favorite,
he's
like,
a very good actor.
I
Actually, the
know.
janitor.
Yeah,
He's an excellent actor. And
I love,
Ted obviously is a very good.
yeah.
Rest in peace.
Oh, you know who I also really, really enjoyed? Of course, Dr. Cox as well, just because I love the fact that every single time he referred
With the
to
girl's name,
JD as with a
JD.
different girl, this
Yeah,
was the thing that really stuck with me.
and the way he whistles,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the whistling skill on that guy.
yeah. That was really cool.
Mm.
I liked it.
And yeah, and Dr. Kelso as well. Like it's. I think it's one of the only shows where I know the name of all the characters.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually weird to know the name of all the guys. But they're very
Obviously, Seinfeld I know, but there's only like four people in the show. But
main people, because if you think about all the others, then
yeah, there are a lot, but they're not like permanent characters. I mean, the cast is just those
yeah,
four,
since it's in a
and
hospital, yeah,
yeah.
you would. Okay.
Oh, and I like Laverne as well. You know, the head nurse. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's
Oh yeah, yeah.
the yeah.
Who I had a crush on the show? I had a crush on Dr. Cox's wife,
Oh yeah. I can see why. Um.
Cassie.
Oh, what's her name? Oh, now that I've said it, I know the the name of all the characters. I forgot her name. Yeah, but she's good. She's very good in that role.
And one episode that really fucked with me, I would say. You remember the one where Dr. Cox's child, I think, died, and he was just remembering that he was alive,
No, it's
and
not.
at the
It's
end,
not the child who dies. It's his brother-in-law. It's his wife's brother, played by um the guy from the Mummy, Brendan Fraser.
yeah,
Brendan Fraser. Yeah, that
that, is
episode
that
is
the
that.
guy?
That's one of the brutal episodes.
Yeah,
Like
it really fucked with me.
when JD tells him, "Do you know where we are now?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just before they enter, oh my God, this is
yeah. That was really heartbreaking. Breaking.
yeah.
Okay.
And just to get back real quick uh, Firefly. Um, do you remember who Joan Harris is in Mad Men?
Joe Harris.
Joan,
Oh, Joan Harris. Oh, yes.
the redhead. She's also in Firefly, and she's like the main rival to the gang, and the main rival to Malcolm, the captain, played by Nathan Fillion.
Okay.
And I like her. Like her role is, it's like she plays it very well.
I like it.
Um, she's a good-looking woman, but more than that, she is actually an incredible actress. I really like the way she gets into her roles. She's very believable in any roles I've seen her in.
Yeah. What I really find weird about it is her husband. Have you ever seen the
Yeah,
cult classic? You know her husband?
yeah, I know her husband.
So you know he played in the fuck was the movie called? It was a very fun comedy from like the late '90s. Um, Super Troopers.
Oh no. Oh,
He's
they're separated.
the separator.
Yeah,
So you're telling me there's a chance?
there's a chance. They split up 3 years ago, actually.
Oh no. Well,
His loss.
yeah, definitely. Hmm. She got a number.
Then yeah, Seinfeld, and then Camelot, which is a French show. Um, it is usually presented as a comedy. It has a sort of I wouldn't say dark humor. Um, it actually treats of a lot of like mental illness and stuff like that. It's about King Arthur. The episodes are very short. They're like 3 minutes long, but you have like hundreds of episodes per season. And it is for me, it's one of the it is the best French series to begin with, and it is one of the best series that were ever made. And um, Alexandre Astier, who plays Arthur, is the guy. So he wrote the show, he writes the music, he plays the music, he directs, he does everything for the show. He's a genius, and also he's a comedian. So he has stand-up comedy that is excellent, and it's not about it's not as much as putting people having people doing funny stuff. The humor is just derived of situations where um, how can I explain that? Not like Seinfeld, it's a comedy show. It's made to be funny. Camelot happens to be funny. They're telling a story that happens to be funny.
Okay. Fair enough.
And to me, for anyone who speaks French or understands French, it's a must see. And it's the kind of shows that I rewatch every year. I rewatch it at least once a year.
I'll give it a shot.
Mm.
Not bad.
Yeah, and then I would say Doctor Who.
Never watched it.
I really like it. It's really good. Um, I'm not sure if
I
it's
heard
really good, but I really got sucked in. Like it is. It allows your mind to travel and go on adventures and stuff like that. So it is a very good show to me.
I heard it's really good. I just never had the chance to watch it.
Yeah. Then there is Star Trek, but not all of them. The Next Generation. So I tried to watch TOS, the original series. I didn't like it. I love TNG, as I said. Jean-Luc Picard is my favorite captain. I liked Enterprise a lot, which is the
Yeah,
journey of the first.
I watched that as well when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's with Bakula. I
Mhm.
love that guy. That guy is an amazing actor as well. And on my list, I still have. He did a show where he would jump like from time period to time period to help people or solve things that I don't remember how it's called. I really like DS9, Deep Space Nine, which is another take where actually everything happens in a space station, so they don't move that much, and it's more of like the politics of things. And I like Picard as well. Then I really like Sliders. I don't know if you remember. It's an old show where there are four people and they get sucked into a vortex and they just jump from parallel worlds to parallel worlds and they cannot really come back.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays Gimli, that giant, he's the professor of the main character and he's also traveling with
Oh my
them.
God, it's like a really old
Yes.
TV show, and there's this one character who's also, I think, smoking a cigar or something, where he's like a hologram. He's not real.
I don't remember that. That, for instance, that doesn't ring a bell.
Um, hmm, Let me check. I think I remember. Okay, okay. No, it's a different. Yeah, I know the movie that you're talking about. I saw that as well, but I was referring to a different one where it talked about this as well, and it has John Rhys Davies as a character too. Yeah,
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I may be
Oh,
mistaken.
the other show is called the one with Bakula is Quantum Leap, I think.
I think I'm referring to Quantum Leap. Let me see.
The Quantum Leap is where he goes, yeah, from dimension to dimension and helps people and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's with the Quantum Leap I'm referring to because it's the hologram is played by Dean Stockwell. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And with sliders, keeping on the theme, I would have to say, so I put them together as one entry. Stargate, all of them, like every show, I really like Stargate.
Yeah, yeah, me as well. Liked it.
Yeah, and then a show that I think doesn't get enough love, that would be Warehouse 13.
Which one?
Warehouse 13. So it's a show where artifacts are created that have power, and there is a government agency working to retrieve them and store them in, well, Warehouse 13. It
Hmm.
is it's a unassuming show that is very very nice, easy to watch, and It's a bit like Doctor Who to me. Like it allowed my mind to go on adventures and stuff. I really like it. And the
Okay.
10th, put I would say The Expanse, because Babu is in it. He plays the. Have you seen it?
No.
You should definitely watch it. And he plays the husband of the Earth's president, or whatever her role is. I forgot her role. And she's also I forgot her name, but she's also an amazing actress. And then for the honorable mentions, I would say Constantine.
Okay. Yeah.
That's because John Constantine is just my favorite
Mhm.
superhero, let's say. And Lucifer, I really like Lucifer. Also, there is Broadwalk Empire, honorable
Walk
mention.
in Boy. I loved
That
it. Yeah.
show is really,
Really
really
well
good.
acted.
That show was one of those shows that would give me anxiety for the characters
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
their situations. Like it was so well acted. I was like, oh shit! Like I was cursing at the TV and everything. House of Cards, before
Oh
they
yeah.
removed
Yeah. Obviously.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. I love
The-
that.
the- Regardless of what he's done, I like he's an incredible actor
Amazing actor. Yeah.
in House of
I agree.
Cards. I have Mad Men in my honorable mentions as well,
Hmm.
and Black Sails.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like Black Sails.
Black
Although
Sails,
I haven't finished it.
if only just for the opening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good.
It's really good, and yeah, and the twists that you see, and the politics, and the life of pirates, and it's just a good show.
Yeah. It's a very good show.
Um, and I have added two shows that I have on my watch list that I wanted to just mention. Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Philadelphia. Yeah. Okay.
and The Last Pirate Kingdom. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I like pirates, so I'm just curious to.
Uh, I watched it.
It's not that good.
It's a documentary. You know that.
Oh no, I thought it was a show.
Let me make sure. Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Uh,
And yeah, so um, they're just on my
it's a
watch
documentary.
list. And wait, I'm trying to grab the cable because my headset is running out of batteries. I just want to plug it in so that we can at least finish the show.
Yeah, so just think that the Last Fire Kingdom is a documentary, but very good one. I enjoy it.
Okay, so yeah, the reasons I like shows like wait, I'm plugged in, all good. Like Firefly or Cowboy Bebop, it's because it combines two of my favorite things: pirates and space.
Okay.
And with a side of western, like cowboy and bounty hunting and stuff like that, like put together. It's a very good mix.
Okay. As I said, I watched just a bit, but didn't get the time because I spent time with my family.
Hmm.
And I didn't get to mention my honorable mentions. I wanted to.
Yeah,
Um, so the first one, I'm kind of ashamed in a way to say it, but you have to understand. I didn't grow up with Friends, so I kind of watched, something that was inspired heavily by Friends, which is How I Met Your Mother.
yeah, it's an okay show.
It's an okay show. It's just uh, at the time, I was in uni, and it
It's
was
not that,
fun.
it's Barney Stinson.
And
Like
yeah,
you're excused
I loved it.
because he's, yeah.
Yeah. And when I found out he was gay, I was like, "Oh my god, he's an amazing actor." 'Cause I couldn't have imagined him being
And
gay.
he's a good singer too. Like
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
have you seen Dr. Horrible sing along?
I don't think so.
It's a 45-minute movie. It's on YouTube. During the early 2000s or mid 2000s, there were like strikes because the writers were not paid enough or something like that.
Hmm.
And they did a lot of shows like that. And this is with uh, so he plays Dr. Horrible. Um, Harris, Neil Patrick Harris is his name,
Yeah.
the actor. Yeah, and he's the main character. Nathan Fillion plays a superhero who is his nemesis,
Okay.
and Felicia Day. I don't know if you know her. Um,
By name.
yeah, so she plays the main love interest, and it's like 45 minutes. It's easy to watch, and the songs are good. I really like the show. And now that I'm thinking of Felicia Day, in my honorable mentions, I forgot to talk about Supernatural. I love Supernatural.
I've always wanted to talk to you about that show, whether it's worth watching or not.
It is definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll add it to my list. Yeah, because I heard a lot of people talk about it, and I do like supernatural TV shows, and I heard it portrayed it very well. Because for example, even True Blood, I haven't fully finished watching it just because towards the end they had like the blood disease and all that. Like,
Yeah, heavy.
yeah, I don't really like where this is going, but I really enjoyed it the most of it.
Hmm.
Um, I will put as honorable mentions as well Doctor House, just
Uh,
because I really liked the main character.
yeah, I like Hugh Laurie, but I am not into medical shows in general, and he's funny for a couple of seasons, like
Hmm,
his behavior, his demeanor, but it was not enough to carry the show for me. Like,
okay.
yeah, I just couldn't get into it.
I liked it just because he was such an arsehole and but also very very good at his job, and it was an interesting dynamic that I hadn't seen before.
Hmm.
Um, so another one that is kind of part of I would say animation, but due to the how graphic it is definitely not a show that I would let my kids watch.
Hmm.
Is a show that I talked to you about, Invincible. Oh my god, it's
Oh, is it that there are a lot of memes with that Captain in White, in that superhero in white, right?
yeah, in
Okay,
white
yeah,
and
so it's in my watch lists. Yeah.
you have
Oh, and if my top 10 could contain more than 10, I would add. I completely forgot to get back to the two animated ones I was referring to. Archer,
oh yeah,
which
I
is like
love
so fucking good, and obviously BoJack Horseman, which makes me want
and
to kill myself every time I watch it.
definitely. You know what? The one thing that I really, really appreciated about BoJack Horseman was that, and have never seen any show do this, is and it's very well that you mentioned it in like a TV show and not in a cartoon because I think it was way too mature to be
Yeah,
just a cartoon.
Rick and Morty, you could, to some extent, the animation
Yeah.
style is still like it's maybe too adult because of the language, but
Hmm.
the animation style is reminiscent of something closer to a kids show.
Yeah.
Not that it is for kids, but Archer, it's just a TV show that happens to be drawn.
Yeah.
It's a spy thing, and BoJack Horseman. The themes are not even remotely graspable by kids. Like
Oh yeah.
it
Way
cannot
too
be
mature.
conflated with a kid show.
And I still like I wouldn't let my kids come anywhere near that because the themes depicted there and the situations that they come in and the entanglements and at one point, if I'm not mistaken, BoJack hits on his what like wanted to hit I think on his like daughter.
Not his daughter, his ex
Evolution.
lover's daughter,
His lover's daughter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and not that he wanted to. He slept with her,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, it was.
or if not sleeping,
No, no,
something happened at least. Yeah.
I don't think he's lover. There was something that happened, and the alcohol consumption and cigarettes and Todd was really cool. I love Todd.
Yeah, you know who voices him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The guy
Pinkman.
from Breaking Bread.
Yeah, Aaron something.
Yeah.
And also one of the things I think that makes it hard to watch, not as in unpleasant, but emotionally very charged, is seeing someone that refuses to take steps to get better, despite a lot of people being like surrounding him, trying to help him, although they also have their own problems and stuff like that. And someone that, uh, because it's a mental illness that he refuses to address, and keeps like spiraling into the same things over and over and over again. And I get quite distressed from watching the show,
Me as well. That's
because
that's
um,
right.
one of the reasons I get distressed watching this show is because, first of all, I'm prone to depression, and on top of that, I see some behaviors that I have managed to either control, suppress, or get back from in his behavior.
Mhm.
And but um, I don't think that, given the wrong circumstances, I could not spiral into something similar to his behavior.
He's very relatable as a character.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying that it's so mature as a TV show. So not even as a comic, but as a TV show, it's extremely mature because, yeah, you see that in real life. You know, you have friends or people that you know that you're trying to help them and you care about them, and they just refuse help now, or maybe even after a few years, or God forbid, some of them, even go a very very dark path that they can never recover from. But yeah, then again, that's life, and that's extremely well depicted there. But another thing that I really felt was masterful in the way it was made, which was so weird and funny at the same time, was that the characters themselves were animals that were actually human-like in behavior, while at the same time retaining um, their specific animal traits.
Hmm.
So, for example, you had what was the cat's name?
Princess Caroline.
Princess Caroline. So you had to refer to her as Princess Caroline, just as theoretically you would a cat,
Because
because
those are stupid names people give their cats.
exactly, yeah. Or with the dog's name, what was
Peanut Butter, Mr. Peanut Butter.
the peanut butter. Yeah, but and it
And
was
I think it is a bit unsavory to have called the dog peanut butter, because there is a stigma attached to dogs and peanut butter,
yeah,
and a
yeah, agree.
practice that
Yeah.
people have. Don't Google
Oh yeah,
that. People,
oh
if
yeah,
you don't know what I'm talking about, don't
I
don't
do,
don't
I do.
don't burden your mind with the knowledge.
I saw the
We'll
movie.
carry it for you.
I wish I hadn't seen it, but yeah, I did see it. That stuff. God bless the internet.
Yep.
And I
what
can never watch
what an
but
amazing time we live in.
we can see absolutely anything, even though you don't want to. But yeah, but also not only the names, but their behaviors as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Mhm.
There's also Mr. Peanut Butter. Remember, he was acting actually like kind of a dog in the sense that he was very
Just
enthusiastic
happy, yeah, to
about
see
everything.
everyone.
So yeah, I really appreciated that.
Oh, and an episode that broke my there are a few things that broke my heart, in that show, but if I had to pick two right now, it would be the fact that Joe could not make it Bojack could not make it work with the owl. I really the owl who had lost her memory. She had just woken up. She didn't know who he was and stuff like
I
that.
remember the owl.
Huh?
Yeah, I remember the owl,
Yeah,
but I don't know
and
if I liked her.
this could have been his redemption arc, but
Yeah,
he could not. And the other thing is when Mr. Peanut Butter realizes that he's going to die.
I don't remember that.
Because his father actually, they take him to a farm
Oh,
upstate,
oh
and
shit!
he
Yeah.
realizes then that
Oh
death
my.
happens. Like he thought that all his family went to a farm upstate, and then
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
realized what that means.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was really messed up.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. I specifically remember the end where BoJack just looks at a pack of wild horses roaming the countryside.
yeah.
I thought that was nice.
Hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, it also fucked with me a bit. I have to admit, just due to the seriousness of the situation, and also that as you well said, certain things that the characters went through, you could understand as well, because obviously at one point in our lives, each one of us went through some shit, either depression or anxiety, or losing someone or realizing
Or addiction as well.
or addiction. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
And not what I liked is that they didn't just depict addiction to substances. Like Princess
mhm.
Caroline is addicted to work,
Yeah.
and the mistreatment that she's getting at work um, mm, has become part of her identity.
Hmm.
And she's a very successful woman, but she she doesn't get what she deserves, despite being an amazing, competent woman.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I really enjoyed it. Lynn also was very. Lynn was no, is that her name?
The Vietnamese woman, the writing the book, I
Yeah,
forgot her name.
I think
Uh,
like a typical Vietnamese name like Nguyen.
Nguyen was her family or her last name, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Let me just check the character name, but I think she had Diane, the Diane. Diane
Diane.
was her name. Yeah.
Then yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a really interesting show, but as I said, a very very heavy show. I would say
Hmm.
very heavy show. But yeah, definitely watch Invincible, as I said, because it's it's the sort of TV show that I would have liked to watch when I was a kid, even though it's very gory, like to a degree that Jesus Christ, it's really gory. But it's also relatable. So nothing in it is something that you wouldn't believe would happen in real life, given those particular circumstances.
Hmm.
So you should definitely watch it. And the way each episode carries on to the next is very interesting as well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that.
I'm adding BoJack end credit song to the playlist.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Back
definitely.
in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show. Oh, and wait, they have a rendition of Horse with No Name
Oh, okay.
that is really good. BoJack Horseman, Horse with No Name. Yeah, a Horse with No Name. I love that song.
Yeah,
I've added it as well. Mhm.
I love all the GTA San Andreas music. That's where I found it. It was like the perfect game where you would just roam the countryside for hours on end, just listening to radio. It was great.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So another show that I would put in would be The Crown,
Okay.
uh, because again, being a history buff and all that, it's first off, it's again very historically accurate to a degree, and you have to take this with a pinch of salt because there's a certain degree that you can't tell that okay, that's exactly how they felt about Princess Di, and
It's the one where Gillian Anderson plays Margaret Thatcher, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
exactly, yeah. So she plays it very well. By the way, I loved it because well, Maggie is one of my favorite.
Character,
Well, no characters, but
like actual
real life
politician.
personas. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
One of my top famous people that I've appreciated.
Yeah, I'm on the Irish side on this specific topic. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, so in The Crown, it's very well made in the sense that, despite the historical accuracy or inaccuracies in some sense, because obviously you can't really portray everything from the royal family because you can't know for sure. What I really really appreciated was uh, conveying to the audience the reality of a heavy crown, what
Hmm.
that actually represents in real life, and also the implications that it has in that family, and that um, the actual sovereign, the head of the family, is the actual sovereign, where everyone else revolves around her.
Hmm.
So that's how it actually is, despite how you would imagine human relationships or man and woman relationships to be. That's a completely different entity which existed for thousands of years. So it's very very interesting how they portray that, and the importance of it, but also the immense frustration of how and why the monarch has to be limited in her role. Because in the first season, if I'm not mistaken, she wants to be this new age monarch who changes things and brings good to the people, and she's very hastily brought down and explained.
When does the show start? Does it start after Second World War?
Starts during the World War, if I'm not mistaken.
Because she
Before,
was a mechanic or something like that
yeah,
during
yeah,
the war.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
it starts before she ascends to the crown.
Okay.
Yeah, but it goes. It's very very interesting, and I loved everyone who portrayed the characters there, especially as I said, the Margaret Thatcher, but also Churchill, very well portrayed.
Oh, right.
Uh,
He must be in there, obviously.
yeah, yeah, and he's very well portrayed, and the as I said, you get a better sense of why you would never want to be part of the royal family.
Okay.
You understand how heavy the crown is and how difficult it is to have that sort of lifestyle. It's just amazingly difficult. And even to abstain to do something good, even though you have good intentions, you just have to abstain it because it explains that in the long term, this is the role that you have to have, and you cannot deviate from it. And
Hmm.
you get a better understanding of monarchy, of constitutional monarchy, better yet, which, in my opinion, is the best form of government,
Okay.
considering the limitations of people. Let's say, I think so.
I
And
will add the show to my watch list then.
yeah, yeah, and I specifically love the first two seasons because I really love the way the actors portrayed the main characters, because they talk to the royal family and to the advisors, and they're very very correct, let's say. Um, Another one that, again, it's very historically accurate, but it's very peculiar in the fact that they maintain the historical accuracy while at the same time being very commercial as a TV show, which is Deadwood.
Oh, I forgot to add that to my honorable mentions. Deadwood is a very, very good show.
Very good show, yeah. I really, really
And
loved it.
that's how I discovered Ian McShane. That's
Hmm.
and he's one of the main reason I watched American Gods because I loved him so much in Deadwood.
Exactly, exactly. I loved him as well. Sun Jian, how the Chinese called him. Yeah, it was really good. And the last one, and this is kind of a peculiar one, and I don't give a fuck about the controversy behind him because, yeah, oh, okay, he did a bad thing, but in my opinion, it wasn't uh, so bad that he deserved to be, cancelled and not being able to provide for his family. Was Louis,
Oh
portrayed by
yeah,
Louis
yeah.
C.K.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it because it was such a
There is.
pessimistic show.
I've seen some scenes of it. I haven't seen the show. I absolutely love Louis, as you know. The scenes I've seen are quite humane. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
there is something. There was something like yeah that doesn't feel overplayed or anything. And yeah.
It's very humane, but also very, very pessimistic. It always keeps that pessimistic tone to it,
Mhm.
while at the same time being kind of funny in a pessimistic way, which is, well, emblematic of Louis C.K. obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
There was another. While we're talking about Deadwood, another show came to mind, and I forgot the name. That should have been in my honorable mentions as well. Never mind. If it comes back, I'll add it when I do the post on Insta. But
There are a lot of them, like even today's very few. For example, like the rebirth of Star Wars, like the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Really enjoyed.
I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, it got praised. It's funny. Neither of us mentioned Game of Thrones, for instance. And
If
it's
I
fine. I mean, it's fine. Like, I was a huge fan of the books. I enjoyed the show,
read the book,
but it's not going to make either my honorable mentions nor my top 10.
you read the entire books.
I stopped at A Feast of Crows because then he stopped writing to actually start acting. And when they started filming the show, I was still living in Dublin, and they came to Dublin to start filming and everything.
Nice. I would recommend reading the entire series if you could.
I got out of it. It's and it's too late now. I cannot get back in, and I have other series that I actually of books that we will talk about when we do the books topic. I think, yeah, the books is going to be like a 3 or 4 parter because they're. Uh,
Yeah.
I think both of us read quite a lot, and you can talk so much more about books because yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, it's so if I were to add Game of Thrones, which again, as you said, it was okay. Were it not for the last season, obviously, which just ruined the entire thing.
I didn't even bother watching it.
Trust me, it was that bad. You didn't lose anything. You didn't miss anything. But if I would add it, I would only add the first season because the first season was very, very correct. As in, it was
They were, yeah, it was accurate compared to it was following the book, let's say, not
the actual
everything,
book.
but it was following the book. Another one that I'm not going to put in the honorable mentions. I had high hopes for it, and I was if it wasn't for the main actor, I would say that I was very very disappointed with it because they changed almost everything. It's Foundation. I love Isaac Asimov. I've read Foundation, and as I was watching like the first couple of episodes of Foundation, the TV show, I was like, this. I hadn't read the book in like 2 years or so because I've read it a couple of times, and I was like, okay, I cannot trust my memory, but everything is wrong. Like there is nothing right in what they're depicting here. So I read the book again before continuing the TV show, and I was like, okay, yeah, they're not even remotely close to the book, and it's not only that they're not remotely close to the book. That's fine if you want to have an interpretation, but make a good show at least if you're not going to follow the book,
Fair enough.
which they didn't.
That sucks. Oh, I forgot to mention one, which is really good. And yeah, this needs to be to the honorable mentions. Narcos.
Okay, I haven't watched it, but yeah.
So there are quite a few seasons, and there's also a new one called Narcos Mexico.
Hmm.
And the reason why it's so cool is because it actually depicts ongoing, situations because it depicts the rise of the cartels in Mexico following the fall of the what the fuck is it called? The Cali cartel, which was the rival of Escobar,
Hmm.
and the guy who plays Escobar really, really well played. Like it was very interesting. I loved the way he portrayed Escobar, even though uh, a lot of the things that happened in real life they didn't portray in the TV series because they were too brutal. For example, there was one situation where he he wanted his daughter wanted a flying horse, wanted the Pegasus.
Okay.
So
I guess that was Manuela Escobar.
I don't know the name of for his daughter, but or if he had more, I only remember the son.
Yeah, she was. It's her because she was the only daughter that he
Okay,
had.
so the guy bought a horse and then hired a medic to surgically attach,
Seriously?
yeah,
Yeah.
wing the horse, and obviously the horse died of what do you call it, septicemia.
Yeah, from an infection and
Yeah, yeah, from
it got
infection.
septic, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and what is also not portrayed is that in the show, his son is actually 16 by the time he does all the terrorist acts where he killed like a few thousand people. It was insane, and he was actually boasting about, I planted that bomb and I did that and I destroyed that plane and whatever. And he actually had huge arguments with his son because his son saw how much of a maniac he was, and they argued all the time about this. And yeah, a lot of things didn't get portrayed in the show just because they were a bit too hard to believe.
Hmm.
So yeah, they left him out. But the way he portrayed Escobar was brilliant, and of course the things that followed as well. Because in in the third season, if I'm not mistaken, after Escobar dies, it, it portrays the rise of the Cali cartel, um, and the actual rise of the DEA as an agency.
Okay.
Because the cartel became so powerful, but also they weren't careful enough towards American institutions and special federal institutions that they killed the agent of this newfound agency called DEA.
Hmm.
Because of that, DEA became very well financed and supported by the American government and became so very powerful. And they destroyed the Cali cartel, which in turn created a power vacuum, which was supplied by the Mexican cartels, which still roam
So the
today.
Cali was a Colombian cartel.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the Medellin cartel and then yeah, the Cali cartel. They were rivals. Then after Escobar fell, the Cali cartel got everything. Then the DA just destroyed it, and then everything they like in the entire South American drug empire was taken over by the Mexican cartels.
Hmm.
Because obviously they were, the closest to the US, so they had. Uh, it's normal that it became the most powerful given the proximity to the US and to the US market. And you had like stories about I don't know the name of the guy, the drug cartel kingpin who um, escaped prison 2 times by digging an underground tunnel. It was pretty famous.
It doesn't ring any bell. I'm really not into like drug lords and stuff like it's not my jam.
I was more curious about it, but it's pretty interesting in the sense of as I said how they portrayed it as and all and everything. Oh, and remember I told you about a movie regarding the Portuguese Brazilian.
Yeah.
So that would be Cidade de Deus, which is the city of God,
Oh,
which
the
was.
city of yeah. Okay.
Do you know the movie? You seen it?
I know of the movie, but I haven't seen it.
Very good movie, and it also shows in the TV series on Netflix that I told you about, because a lot of the actors were local people living in the ghettos there.
Okay.
They just made like a project that they, felt that it would be good and became like a huge international hit. And they actually made like a separate movie talking about how are the actors now and where are they and that sort of thing. It was pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Um, and also, but you said you're not you're not fond of the ideas of cartels and drugs. A very interesting movie was Juarez. Juarez was it? Yeah.
Are you sure? I know the game Call of Juarez, but
Juarez first off is a region in
or
Mexico.
Call to Juarez. Yeah, it must be a region.
But no, okay, no, it's not called. What the fuck is it called? It's it's a very good movie with Benicio del Toro, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, with Benicio del Toro. Um, let me find the movie. It's
The
very
city of Juarez in is in the state of Chihuahua, in Mexico.
so yeah, it's called Sicario,
Oh yeah,
and
Sicario. I know. Yeah.
oh, you've seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it because at Ubisoft I was working on Ghost Recon Wildlands,
Mhm.
and so we were reading up about well the characters that were depicted. It takes place in Bolivia, but yeah, you had sicarios and stuff like that, and so you learn the terms and what it's actually a role, let's say, in a cartel to a sicario.
Right. Yeah, I know about that. But what was very interesting about the movie was that they depicted the violence that happened, for example, in Juarez, the city. However, the actual filming was at a border town in the US, and the actual filming of the city of Juarez was only made from a helicopter, and they were real images of actual shootouts that happened at night.
And they were allowed to display that?
Well, yeah, it was like it was a few kilometers away from the US. You can see the actual people. You would just see
No, I
flashes.
mean people actually shooting like with live rounds. Are you allowed
Yeah.
to show that?
Well, yeah, because the people didn't know that.
Okay.
It's the same as in that movie from the 80s,
Zombie Holocaust?
Apocalypse Now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in Apocalypse Now, I've read somewhere, but I can't be 100% sure that they killed like a lot of cows, for example, replicating how American soldiers shot from helicopters and everything, and apparently they did that, so they portrayed it, but it depends. You have nowadays even some video games, for example, that are forbidden in certain countries, and certain movies where actually it happens a lot in Romania. I've noticed on certain programs where certain scenes which are too violent are just taken out of the movie,
Okay.
which I hate. But yeah, that's censorship for you.
And that's another topic. This is going to fall into when we talk about civilization in general and more of social issues.
It's
Okay.
good that we only limited ourselves to 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we managed quite well. Like we're not at 4 hours yet, but yeah, we're 6 minutes away.
We're in schedule.
So I think we should stop now, and um, I would like to conclude this episode with this statement: God save the Queen, because we love her, and I hope that she lives for many more years and in good health if possible.
Yeah, true that.
So yeah, it was again a pleasure, and I hope that our listeners enjoyed it. And I guess we'll be recording next Sunday.
Cool.
Bye.
Until next time. Bye.